Good morning, Birmingham. Today is Tuesday, March 3rd. The time is 9:34 a.m. I call to order the regular meeting of the Birmingham City Council. Today's invocation will be led by Bishop Gregory Mullins, Senior Pastor of the Abraham Nest of Love Christian Church in Birmingham, Alabama, and our Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Councilor Pro Tem LaTanya Tate. If you're willing and able, please stand and join us. And Pastor Mullins, you just push that little, oh, it's on for you. Thank you.
I think we're ready. Let us pray. Dear God, our Father, we thank you for another opportunity to assemble together, God, as leaders of this city, to come, God, to make things happen the way that you desire for them to happen. God, we pray now for all of our leaders in this city, God, just not this city, but around our nation, that you keep us, lead us, guide us, and direct us right now, God, in the name of Jesus. We thank you for this great city of Birmingham and all the things that are happening, and we're praying now for our mayor, our councils, God, and all of our leaders of the city, that things will happen in your direction, the way that you would have them to go. Lord, bless each and every one of them. Give them wisdom, knowledge, and understanding right now, God. Lord, we ask right now that you just not allow us to just make good decisions, but God decisions. And every decision that is made, that it would benefit your people. Lord, we ask you that you would cover our city right now, bind every enemy that come against it right now. And God, let us walk in your will and in your way. And let this day's session, God, be remarkable. God, let it be commendable in the name of Jesus. Allow this leadership team to collaborate and communicate on all the things that they need to work together on to move this city forward continuously. God, this we ask in Jesus' name, and for his sake we pray, amen. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much, Bishop Mullins, for that thoughtful prayer, and thank you, Councilor Pro Tate, for leading us in the pledge. Good morning, Mr. Clerk.
Good morning.
If you'll call the roll, please.
Councilmember Gunn. Good morning. Good morning, sir. Councilmember O'Quinn. Good morning. Good morning. Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Smitherman. Good morning. Councilmember Vasa. Good morning. Councilmember Williams. Councilmember Woods. Good morning. Good morning. Council President Pro Tem Tate.
Good morning.
Good morning. Council President Alexander.
Present, thank you. At this time, we have communications from the mayor. Good morning.
Madam President, good morning to you. Good morning to the entire council. It's good to see each of you this morning. Good morning to the general public as well as those in the audience this morning. Madam President, I'll start with some news I think you, of all people, can appreciate. We know the Dragons are one of 4 teams competing for the 5A Boys Basketball State Championship. They're the only Birmingham City school, and under the legendary head coach Cedric Lane, the team returns. They return to the Final Four for the second consecutive year. The Final Four match, they'll face LaFleur Rattlers. That'll be tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. at the BJCC Legacy Arena. You can get your tickets at Ticketmaster.com, but I expect to see you there personally, as well as some of your colleagues and those supporting Birmingham City Schools. As you know, March is Women's History Month. We continue with our Strong Her campaign. Each March during Women's History Month, Birmingham celebrates unsung women through its Strong Her storytelling campaign. This year's theme is Strong Her, Golden Girls Edition, spotlighting women 60 plus who live, work, and or volunteer in our city. Follow their stories on the city's Facebook page, and a special thank you, very special thank you to Senior Project Manager Sunda Temple for leading this initiative and does it with such passion and intentionality. Also, you know, we continue with the Academy of Civic Engagement. You may know it as ACE, again, the Academy of Civic Engagement. Since 2019, ACE has equipped more than 1,400 of our city residents with a deeper understanding of local government, producing neighborhood leaders and active community participants. Applications are now open for the 2026 class, which launches next month, April 9th. Participants gain direct exposure to city operations, leadership, and again, civic engagement. In addition to the annual ACE classes, new this year is Code ACE, that's CODE. It has a focus for tracking on code enforcement and public works. Code ACE launches this month, actually this Thursday, March 5th, with weekly sessions every Thursday in March from 5:30 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. at the Birmingham Public Library Central Branch, which is located downtown. Sessions connect residents directly with the city's departments, keeping neighborhoods safe and vibrant. And to learn more about both or have questions, you can go to ace@birminghamal.gov. Again, that's ace@birminghamal.gov, or you can go to birminghamal.gov/ace, which is the website. At this time, I would like to invite Demetria Harris with the Department of Human Resources to come forth and tell us more about the upcoming blood drive the city of Birmingham is hosting for our city employees.
Good morning, Council, Pro Tem, Mayor, citizens of Birmingham. My name is Demetria Harris, and I proudly serve as the Marketing and Branding Coordinator in the Department of Human Resources. I also serve as the City of Birmingham's Blood Program Leader in partnership with the American Red Cross. I am here today to invite each and every one of you to join us for the City of Birmingham's first blood drive of the year, occurring tomorrow, Wednesday, March 4th, at the Boutwell Auditorium from 11:30 to 4:30 p.m. If you have not had the opportunity to pre-register, there are no worries. We are accepting walk-ups, and the blood drive is open to the public, so please feel free to invite your constituents. Blood donation is very critical. Every 2 seconds, someone in the United States needs blood, yet only about 3% of eligible individuals donate each year. One single pint of blood can save up to 3 lives, and the blood collected is used right here locally in hospitals like UAB. In 2023 and 2024, Birmingham was named as a premier partner. So in 2026, we would like to bring that back to Birmingham. It's not about accolades. It's about letting the world know that Birmingham saves lives. If you would like to donate and you have not registered, I encourage you to eat a healthy meal the morning of. Nursing staff will be on deck to let you know through a pre-screening if you are eligible to donate. Those who show up to the drive and make it through pre-screening will receive a $15 gift card. It is redeemable by cash or through a storefront that the American Red Cross partners with. All you need to bring is your photo ID and a good vein. I hope to see many of you tomorrow on March 4th. Thank you for your time and your support.
Thank you so much. We're very
Thank you.
excited that the city of Birmingham is hosting this blood drive, and we're hoping that all employees and residents will come and give. Thank you.
I hope so too. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Harris. Madam President and City Council, at this time, I would like to ask Bernetta Woodbury, who is the project manager for Brassville and Gorey, as well as any guests she may have with her, to please join me at the podium at this time. As they come forth in the month of Women's History, it's also, we celebrate Women in Construction Week. And so we get a chance to see Ms. Woodbury and her crew every year and acknowledge these women in construction. The Greater Birmingham chapter of the National Association of Women in Construction, NAWIC, which I think I got right,
Yes, sir.
has served as a voice of women in construction in the Greater Birmingham area for more than 58 years. The week of March 2nd through the 8th of 2026 marks the 26th Annual Women in Construction Week. And so today what we would like to do is honor these very powerful and strong women with the special proclamation that I will read in part. And it states, whereas the Greater Birmingham chapter has advanced the interests of metropolitan Birmingham through cooperative partnerships. In the week of March 2nd through the 8th, marks the 26th annual WIC Week, during which NAWIC elevates the vital role women play across the construction sector. And whereas WIC Week gives NAWIC thousands of national members a platform to highlight opportunities for women in construction and underscore their expanding influence and contributions to the industry. Now, therefore, I, Randall L. Whitman, Mayor of the City of Birmingham, along with the Birmingham City Council, do hereby proclaim the week of March 2nd through the 8th, 2026, as Women in Construction Week in the City of Birmingham, and call upon all residents to honor the contributions of women in construction and support NAWIC's mission to empower and elevate women in the industry. And at this time, I would like to ask Ms. Woodbury to share a few words.
First of all, thank you all so much for having us come every single year and support Women in Construction Week. We really appreciate all the support you guys provide us. I will mention a couple of events we have going on this week. One event is taking place this afternoon. It is the ACE Trade Show, where we're bringing students across the metropolitan Birmingham to come to an event at the workforce training and to get an opportunity to learn about construction trades. We're expecting about 150, 200 kids. We also have a job site tour scheduled for our RPI office site, which will take place tomorrow around lunchtime. And then we're also planning to give back to the community on Friday with a habitat bill. You can find any information about all the events that we have going on at nawicbirmingham.com. So hopefully we can see everybody there. And if you can't participate, you also can wear red throughout the week. So once again, thank you guys so much for your support, as you guys support us every single year. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. A few more notes, Madam President and Council. At this time, I would like to invite, which includes your colleague, she doesn't even know this, Crystal Smitherman, to the podium. But also joining her, I would like to invite the City of Birmingham employees who are members of the Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated to come to the podium. Madam President and Council, as they come up, these strong women you see here are not only the women of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, but they have served Birmingham in some invisible ways and some in quiet ways. But they are all Birmingham City employees. In addition to that, they tutor students, they feed families, they mentor other young women, and they steady the city, making sure the ship is headed in the right direction as it relates to our progress. Those who serve in the city's workforce bring the same spirit of service to work here every day. And so at this time, I think it's, and for me, an honor to read a proclamation in part to honor them as they celebrate Sisterhood Month. And it states, whereas sisterhood is one of the most powerful forces for good a community can have. The encouragement before a big moment, the grace after a hard day, and the understanding that no one is alone. Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated has cultivated that sisterhood for generations, and Birmingham is better for it. Now, therefore, I, Randall L. Whitman, Mayor of the City of Birmingham, along with the Birmingham City Council, do hereby proclaim March 2026 as Sisterhood Month in honor of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, and encourage every resident to recognize the women who have given so much of themselves. Birmingham sees you, Birmingham thanks you, and Birmingham is proud to call you its own. Thank you, ladies, so much. Madam President and Council, that concludes the mayor's report. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor Whitman. At this time, Mr. Clerk, do we have announcements of board and agency expirations for April?
Yes, ma'am. Starting with the Downtown Redevelopment Authority, we have Darrell Ward. Term expires April the 8th, 2026. It is a 6-year term, and it is under the Economic Development and Tourism Committee. We also have Joe Ayers, the same expiration date of 4/8/26, also a 6-year term. And again, Economic Development and Tourism Committee.
All right, thank you.
One more.
I'm sorry.
Industrial Development Board, we have Reginald Coleman, Vanessa Falls, and Carlos Barona. Reginald Coleman, the term expires 4/10/2026, a 6-year term. Vanessa Falls expires 4/8/26, a 6-year term. And Carlos Barona expires 4/10/2026, and it is also a 6-year term, and it is under the Economic Development and Tourism Committee as well.
Thank you for those announcements, and we'll make note of that and turn that over to the Economic Development and Tourism Committee. Thank you very much. At this time, before we consider the consent items, I'd like to read our order of business regarding consent agenda. All items designated as consent are considered to be routine and non-controversial and will be approved by one motion. No separate discussion of these items will be permitted unless a council member, the mayor, or citizen interested in a public hearing so requests. If so, such items will revert to its normal place on the agenda order of business. All matters of permanent operation, they're indicated with a capital P on the agenda, will be read. All other matters will be announced by reading the item number only. All public hearings will be announced. At this time, Mr. Clerk, would you read the items that are being considered for consent? Yes.
Consent agenda starts today on page 2, items 2 and 3. Page 3, item 4. Page 4, item 5. Please note on item 5. Page 7, item number 125 should be withdrawn. That's page 7, item 125. And we pick back up with the consent agenda. Let's see. Got a lot of pages here. Apologize. 5, 6. Page 15, items 6 and 7 are on consent. Page 22, item 8 is on consent. Page 24, item 9 is on consent. And then we skip over to page 31. Items 14, 15, and 16 are on consent. Page 32, items 17, 18, and 19 are on consent. Page 33, items 20, 21, and 22 are on consent. Page 34, items 23, 24, 25, and 26 are on consent. Page 35, items 27, 28, 29, and 30 are on consent. Page 36, items 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, and 36 are on consent. Please note that on item 34 should be a correction. Councilor Vasa, of course, he's not an assistant. It should be the counselor. So strike that language and put counselor behind it on your attachment. And page 37, item number 37 is on consent, and that concludes the consent agenda. We have one addendum item.
All right, thank you. Councilors, at this time, are there any items you'd like to have added or removed from consent? Councilor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to add item 40 to consent, please.
All right, councilors, this is an addendum item we have before us, and it's been requested to add to consent. Thank you, Madam Pro Tem. Councilor Smitherman?
Yes, ma'am. Can we remove items 14, 15, and 18 off consent?
Okay, the request is to remove items 14 and 15 on page 31,
Yes, sorry, and then page,
That's okay.
and item 18 on page 32.
and item 18 on page 32. Any other items? All right, at this time, councilors will entertain a motion and a second for the consent agenda.
So move.
Tate, Pro Tem Tate? Will that work? All right. Voting should be open right about now. Oh, I'm sorry, I got Councilor Smith, I got you absent, but how would you like to vote? All right, and Councilor Williams? Thank you, sir.
Yes.
President Alexander?
Aye.
All right, that vote should be up. That vote should be up, Madam President. The vote was unanimous.
At this time, all the items that were considered for consent and the additional item that was added, those that we did not remove, all of those items have been approved. If you're here for any of those items that were listed as consent, they have been approved, and we'll continue with the rest of our agenda. Mr. Clerk, I would like to go out of order, and councilors, if you would allow me, we'll go out of order of the agenda. And I'd like to bring up the items of permanent operation and go in that order, and then we'll go back to the rest of the agenda. And also the other items that were pulled off consent. I'd like to start with those. So if we could start with that first item, number 10 on page 29.
Okay. Item 10. An ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into a one-year agreement between the city of Birmingham and the Birmingham Emergency Communication District pursuant to Section 11-98-4, Code of Alabama, Act Number 1969-916, to define responsibilities of the city and the Birmingham 911 related replacement of old portable radios with new Motorola portable radios to be used by BPD and BFRS, including programming of the new portable radios. Birmingham 911 has the technical expertise to program the city's new portable radios and intends to provide these services to the city at no cost to the city, resulting in cost savings to the city of approximately $300,000. This is an item of permanent operation. I need UC to pass it today. Councilor Gunn. Councilor O'Quinn. Councilor Smith. Councilor Smitherman. Councilor Vasa. Councilor Williams. Councilor Woods. Council President Pro Tem Tate. Council President Alexander.
Aye.
Motion on the item, please. Item is before you.
All right, thank you, councilors. This is an ordinance authorizing us to enter to a one-year agreement between the city of Birmingham and the Birmingham Emergency Communications District, which is Birmingham 911. Any questions or discussion needed on that item? We're ready for the vote.
Voting should be open.
And I vote aye.
Yes, ma'am. That vote should be up. It was unanimous.
All right, thank you. Item 10 passes. Next item.
Should be item 11. An ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to execute certain documents in connection with the Choice Neighborhoods Legacy at Graymont project to include a second amended and restated ground lease with the veranda at Graymont School LP and assumption and modification agreement with the Magic City Housing Development Corporation, veranda of Graymont School LP, a rental assistance demonstration use agreement with the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, veranda at the Graymont School LP and the Housing Authority of the Birmingham District, a Choice Neighborhoods Implementation Grant Program, declaration of restrictive covenants, a ground lesser estoppel certificate, a launch to forgivable loan and promissory note, and other routine certificates, instruments, and documents related to this transaction. Again, this is an item of permanent operation. I need UC.
Second.
Councilmember Gunn. Councilmember O'Quinn. Councilmember Smith. Councilmember Smitherman. Councilmember Vasa. Councilmember Williams. Councilmember Woods. President Pro Tem Tate. Council President Alexander.
Aye.
Motion, please. Item is before you.
All right, thank you, councilors. This is an ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to execute certain documents in connection with our Choice Neighborhoods Legacy at Graymont project. This item was recommended by the mayor and approved by Budget and Finance. Are there any questions, or do we need another review of these particular items? I believe they've been presented to us since Committee of the Whole and Budget and Finance. All right, at this time, we're ready for the vote.
Okay, 1 second, please. Got to move in a second, right? All right, voting should be open right about now. All right, the vote is unanimous.
Perfect. All right, this item passes. Thank you very much.
All right.
Next item.
Go to item 12. Item 12, an ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to enter into a redevelopment agreement with Levi Chiropractic PC, under which Levi Chiropractic PC will undertake a redevelopment project to refurbish and restore property located at 2505 31st Avenue North, formerly known as Family Dollar, and the adjacent lot located at 2509 31st Avenue North, to establish a new chiropractic center, which will result in the creation of 8 to 12 new jobs. The city has agreed to make the property available to the developer at a price of $100,000 pursuant to amendment number 772. Item of permanent operation. Again, need UC. So moved. Second. Councilmember Gunn. Aye. Councilmember O'Quinn. Aye. Councilmember Smith. Aye. Councilmember Smitherman. Aye. Councilmember Vassa. Aye. Councilmember Williams. Aye. Councilmember Woods. Aye. President Pro Tem Tate. Aye. Council President Alexander.
Aye.
Motion, please. So moved. Second. Item is before you.
All right, councilors, this is an ordinance approving and authorizing the mayor to enter into a redevelopment agreement with La Vie Chiropractic PC. This item was recommended by the mayor. It's already been approved by the Budget and Finance and the Economic Development Tourism Committees. Any questions about this item? We're ready for the vote.
Voting should be open. All right, that vote should be up.
All right, thank you. That item passes. Next item.
Item 13, an ordinance authorizing the mayor upon receipt of payment in the amount of $5,476.63 to execute a quitclaim deed, Severio Properties LLC, for the sale of property legally described as beginning at southeast intersection of 12th Avenue North and 29th Street North, northeast 110 feet of southeast, 60 feet southwest, and 110 feet northwest, 60 feet to probate, being part of lots 3 and 4, block 641, Birmingham, is recorded in the map book 800, map page 1, in the office of the judge of probate of Jefferson County, Alabama, and located at 1131 29th Street North, Birmingham, Alabama 35234, which was acquired by the city upon foreclosure of municipal improvement liens in accordance with section 3-1-4C of the General Code of the City of Birmingham. And an item of permanent operation. Again, I need UC. Councilmember Gunn. Aye. Councilmember O'Quinn. Aye. Councilmember Smith. Aye. Councilmember Smitherman. Aye. Councilmember Vassa. Aye. Councilmember Williams. Aye. Councilmember Woods. Aye. President Pro Tem Tate. Aye. Council President Alexander.
Aye.
All right, motion, please.
All right, councilors, this is an ordinance authorizing the mayor upon receipt of payment to execute a quitclaim deed for property. This item was submitted by the city attorney and recommended by the director of finance. Do you need any information or have any questions regarding this item? We're ready for the vote.
Voting should be open. Council, that vote should be up.
All right, thank you. Item 13 passes. Mr. Clerk, I'd like to ask if you would consider reading items 14, 15, and 18 together. They're all under the Reinvest program. Thank you.
Item 14, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Child Care Resources Incorporated, under which Child Care Resources will serve as part of the Reinvest Birmingham initiative to strengthen reliable access to high-quality, affordable child care by supporting existing child care providers and individuals interested in starting child care businesses within the service area pursuant to amendment number 772 in terms of the U.S. Department of Commerce, Economic Development Administration Distressed Area Recompete Pilot Award, Subaward Grant in an amount not to exceed $644,784 for a term ending on or before September the 30th, 2029. Item 15, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with the Birmingham Promise, under which Birmingham Promise will serve as part of the Reinvestment Birmingham initiative, strengthening the cradle to career talent pipeline as a core strategy to ensure Birmingham residents, beginning as early as high school, have equitable access to high-quality, industry-aligned workforce opportunities. Birmingham Promise will expand its work-based learning and apprenticeship exploration program with the Birmingham Board of Education, specifically at Jackson Olin High School, pursuant to amendment number 772, in terms of the U.S. Department of Commerce, Economic Development Administration, Distressed Area Recompete Pilot Award Subaward Grant in an amount not to exceed $400,000 for a term ending on or before September the 30th, 2029. And item 18, a resolution authorizing the mayor to execute an agreement with Women's Foundation of Alabama, under which Women's Foundation of Alabama will serve as part of the Reinvest Birmingham initiative to address gaps in access and availability to high-quality childcare by connecting childcare providers with training, technical assistance, and financial resources to start, maintain, and grow sustainable childcare programs, thereby increasing the number of childcare seats available pursuant to Amendment Number 772 in terms of the U.S. Department of Commerce Economic Development Administration Distress Area Recompete Pilot Award Subaward Grant in an amount not to exceed $2,207,650 for a term ending on or before September the 30th, 2029.
Move the items.
All right, thank you. Counselor Smitherman, you asked that these items be pulled.
Yes, just a short presentation on the items. I was really impressed hearing about your budget and finance, especially, it's just, I'm really excited about this. I think this is a great opportunity for entrepreneurs, for our preschoolers, all around.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning, Council. Coriate House, I serve as the Director of the Department of Innovation and Economic Opportunity. And with me, I have, excuse me, Archie Stewart, who serves as the Reinvest Plan Officer, who is managing the $20 million grant. And so she's going to walk through a short presentation on each one of the items that we have here today, and more than happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Good morning, Ms. Stewart.
Good morning. How are y'all doing?
Good, thank you.
So again, as Director Hauser said, my name is Archie Stewart, and I proudly serve as the Reinvest Plan Officer for the City of Birmingham. Specifically considering Birmingham Promise is charged to serve specifically Jackson Olin High School students with internship opportunities as well as work-based learning opportunities as well. Under the grant, our primary activities are to close the prime age employment gap. However, we feel like the greatest way to address a solution for this is also to target the pipeline of the youth that will soon fall into the prime age, which is 25 to 54. Birmingham Promise, like I said, is charged to provide 60 internships to Jackson Olin High School students and also contribute to serving as a partner with 200 students being served through work-based learning. They will also, this will also fund a career coach specifically seated at Jackson Olin High School to assist with recruitment as well as work-based learning and internship placements as well.
Thank you. Any questions regarding this item? All right.
Are we just doing it item by item?
Would you like for me to also speak to Women's Foundation as well?
Yes.
Okay. So Women's Foundation falls under the child care component for Reinvest Birmingham. Women's Foundation is charged to serve 10 existing businesses with capacity grants, as well as 15 new businesses with capacity grants, as well as execute 3 cohorts over the rest of the period for the grant until 2029 with child care accelerators. The purpose for this is to increase technical assistance and capital access to child care businesses, including home-based businesses. So this is to increase the workforce and entrepreneurship and childcare access for the service area residents.
Is child care services, they're doing the same thing as Women's Foundation, correct?
So child care resources, which was
Resources, yeah.
item 14,
Yes.
they're also under the child care component, but they will also be providing technical assistance and credentialing for individuals who are interested in becoming child care providers and early learner educators.
Okay, awesome. And I asked this in Budget and Finance, but why was JO selected?
Yeah, great question. So specifically within the grant, Jackson Olin High School was selected because they were specifically identified by the EDA, the Economic Development Administration, as well as part of the curriculum that will be delivered to the students is hydroponics, which they have the Academy of Horticulture that's included within their academies that are available at the school. As well as with Jackson Olin, they will also receive other agri-tech agri-tech access, and since they are aligned with horticulture and agri-tech with their academies, they were deemed the best fit to be supported within the grant.
Okay, good. And once again, I'm happy to see that JO was selected, even though it's not my district, because I do feel like a lot of times JO doesn't receive the amount of resources that it needs, especially for that side of town. So I'm happy to hear that it's really helping every student, every person. I think Mayor Woodfin talked about that cradle to career. I think I got it right this time. But, you know, it really starts when you start as a baby, and we go into the third grade literacy test and everything, and they start with their phonics really in preschool, because we've seen a lot of kids go into kindergarten not being able to know how to read, and so they're already behind the 8 ball with that. And also because, and I think a lot of people realize that we're actually in a childcare desert, similar to a food desert, where we don't have a lot of good quality childcare facilities. You know, most people are competing for, I forgot the name of the one, it's not too far from here, I went there, the Early Learning Center. Most people are competing for the Early Learning Center, but even if you get in, that still costs, you know, it almost costs as much as a college tuition to go to preschool now. So I'm excited to see this, not only for our kids and students, but to help existing and new entrepreneurs. So, thank you, Madam President.
Very much. Any other questions regarding these 3 items? Thank you so much. We
Thank you.
appreciate you bringing these to our attention and giving us more information. At this time, we'll entertain the vote on items 14, 15, and 18.
Councilmember Woods, is he absent? Okay. That vote should be up.
All right, thank you. All 3 of those items pass. We are very appreciative of the services that each of these organizations will bring to our community. As has already been said, we're in a child care desert, so any help that we can give to residents and everyone for employment or these services would be very good. I want to thank all 3 agencies that were present today, and we appreciate the work that you're going to be doing. Thank you so much. All right, at this time, Mr. Clerk, I believe we had some public hearing items.
Yes, ma'am, just said.
We could go ahead and consider those.
Item 38, a resolution setting a public hearing April the 7th, 2026, to consider the adoption of an ordinance to amend the zoning district map of the city of Birmingham, case number ZAC 2025-31, to change zone district boundaries from C2, general commercial district, to QI1, qualified light manufacturing district, for a compressed natural gas fueling site of the Birmingham Jefferson County Transit Authority bus fleet, filed by BJCTA Max, the property owner, and Connell England Window Architecture PC, the applicant for the property generally located at 943 Forestdale Boulevard and situated in Section 18, a quarter Section 4, Township 17, Range 3 West, Birmingham 35214. Okay. Item is before you.
All right, thank you. Councilors, this is a resolution setting a public hearing on April 7th to consider adoption of an ordinance to amend the zoning district map of the city of Birmingham. Any questions regarding the setting this date? We're ready for the vote.
And absent.
Thank you, councilors. Item 38, we set that public hearing date for April 7th, 2026. Next item.
Item 39, a resolution setting a public hearing April the 21st, 2026, to consider the adoption of the ordinance for a change in zone district boundaries for all properties in the Eastern Framework Plan area, including the Airport Hills, East Birmingham, East Lake, and Woodlawn communities pursuant to the Eastern Framework Plan, case number ZAC 2025-15, filed by the city of Birmingham for all properties located within the Eastern area communities. Motion, please.
All right, at this time, we are setting the public hearing. Councilor Williams, you have a question about setting that date?
Yeah, I have a question about what we're actually setting. On this item, does this include the property around the airport in terms of what they have used as part of their noise abatement properties for zoning? Okay.
Yes, okay, the answer was no, it's not in that
Okay.
framework. Any other questions? All right, we're ready to entertain a motion on setting that public hearing date. All right, thank you. Item number 39 passes. We've set that public hearing date for April 21st, 2026. At this time, we'll go back to the items that we have not considered. I do want to go back for the record and read that the minutes were not ready for January 6, 2026 through February 24th, 2026. No action is needed. I just wanted to be sure that was put into the record. All right, at this time, Mr. Clerk, if you'll read item number 1.
Item 1, an ordinance to consider a temporary suspension on data centers within the city and the hearing of all interested parties. Motion, please. Motion.
Move the item. All right, thank you. At this time, we are holding a public hearing on an ordinance to consider a temporary suspension on data centers. I'll turn this over to the Chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission to lead us in our public hearing.
Thank you, Madam President. Could we have the staff report, please?
Good morning, Council. I'm Katrina Thomas, and I have the pleasure of serving as Director of the Department of Planning, Engineering, and Permits. And we do have a PowerPoint. Let's get this one. And while Hunter is pulling that up, I'll go ahead and get started. So as you may recall, in January, the council held a public hearing on the proposed temporary suspension on new hyperscale data centers applications. And at that time, public comments were received, and those public comments were a part of our official record and informed us as we were conducting research on this issue. The item was subsequently deferred to the Planning and Zoning Committee, and at that time, there were some revisions that were made to the draft moratorium or draft temporary suspension. And since January, we are pleased to announce that staff has completed draft permanent zoning amendments and has advanced those amendments on an accelerated timeline so that we can have those permanent guardrails in place as it relates to the land use policy. So the purpose, just going back, the purpose of that temporary suspension was to maintain the status quo while staff researched and drafted appropriate land use standards for particularly large-scale data centers. As you know, those hyperscale data center facilities can involve significant infrastructure demands, including energy loads, transmission planning, water use, and compatibility considerations. And so the goal has been to ensure that we have very clear and durable zoning guardrails rather than relying on a case-by-case interpretation. And so during the Planning and Zoning Committee discussion, the moratorium was revised to exclude facilities under 20 megawatts and also limiting the scope to just large-scale hyperscale operations. I do want to make a very critical clarification as it relates to pending applications. That it is important to clarify that the proposed moratorium does not apply to applications already deemed complete. So there are 2 pending applications. Those applications have been deemed complete, and the moratorium would not affect those. Under the established zoning principles, the city cannot retroactively apply new regulations to pending applications, but any amendments adopted by the council will apply prospectively. As it relates to the permanent zoning amendments, the draft permanent amendments does a few things. And like I stated, during the public hearing, we heard from the public, we heard comments from the council. We were informed by the research that we conducted in the case studies. And so clear clear definitions are in that draft ordinance, as well as infrastructure and utility considerations, compatibility and siting standards, as well as some district limitations. And if you want more details about the draft regulations and what all they will entail, Hunter Garrison is here with the Office of Resiliency and Sustainability to provide more details. I also want to very briefly go on to discuss the timeline for the tentative timeline for the land use policy adoption. And so, and this is tentative. Like I stated, we have accelerated this time schedule so that we can have those permanent zoning amendments in place. And so we hope to have a planning commission workshop on March 11th and a public hearing before the Birmingham Planning Commission on March 18th. And hopefully the Planning and Zoning Committee will have a recommendation from the Planning Commission at its regularly scheduled meeting on March 24th. And then the council could set a public hearing on March 31st with a final public hearing date on April 28th, if that schedule went as scheduled. And so staff role is to really just administer the adopted regulations consistently and fairly, and we stand ready to implement the council's direction and also answer any technical questions that you may have. And Attorney Bernard is here as well in case you have any questions about what's before you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I apologize. I do think the team from the sustainability team should give a little bit more update and or detail on the land use policy adoption.
Okay, say that again, please.
Director Thomas shared with us that additional information is needed on the land use policy adoption timeline. That presentation can be given in detail from the sustainability team. We'd like to go ahead and exercise that and give that
Okay,
down.
all
Share that
right,
information.
great. Let's go for it.
Thank you. So my name is Hunter Garrison. I serve as the Deputy Director of the Mayor's Office of Resilience and Sustainability, and I'll just kind of quickly go over the progress that's been made as well as the key considerations that we've taken into account as we've drafted this initial ordinance modification. So I think at a very high level, one way to think of this is, you know, at the turn of the 20th century, we underwent the Industrial Revolution, right? So prior to that, a city or town might have a blacksmith or some small scale output that was crafting those kind of items, right? And then we had the Industrial Revolution and large scale factories, you know, streamlined supply chains, all of those things happened, and there was this huge new emerging land use. This is a similar thing that's happening in the United States and across the world today. Now, I'm not comparing a hyperscale data center to a turn-of-the-century factory that's billowing, you know, black smoke and all of that. However, it is something new that our ordinance doesn't currently consider. So it's something that we want to plan for in a way that responsibly allows for this type of growth in the city while taking into account, you know, the best interest of our community and residents. So what we've done as we've crafted this initial ordinance is look at these key considerations that the public is really concerned about, as well as, you know, professional planners across our industry. And what we're seeing is that those impacts are typically water usage, energy demand, and the grid's ability to account for that energy demand, noise impact, and then simply the overall footprint. And what we're seeing that communities that have been proactive on this is that if there is a responsible way to allow for this type of development that allows for the city to reap the benefits of this type of development while keeping its residents' best interests at heart. So that's what we've been doing. We've been breaking out those definitions. We've been drafting those initial kind of guardrails or safety rails you could think of, so that hopefully when the draft ordinance eventually, you know, goes through its process, goes to the Planning Commission, comes back to you, that you feel it's in a place that does that achieves those goals. So, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, a question to professional staff that's in front of the council. What is the recommendation to the administration and the council related to what's before them today?
So there are a couple of options as it relates to the moratorium. As we stated before, the moratorium or temporary suspension was intended to give us time to conduct research so that we could draft regulations. As stated, we have completed a draft of those regulations and we're ready to go through that policy alignment and go through that policy adoption timeline. In terms of what's before you, it is the moratorium that is in place. I think that the original proposal was for 270 days. So you have options to reduce that timeline, no longer do the temporary suspension due to staff's accelerated timeline for the policy adoption, or you could send it back to the committee so that you can have the assurance that those regulations that we have adopted meet the needs of the public. But the decision is completely up to you as the council.
Okay. Just to review, the temporary suspension of permitting would only apply to large and hyperscale data centers. Is that right? And that's based on power utilization?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and what's the threshold that's defined in the temporary suspension?
30?
So yeah, 20 megawatts. 20 megawatts and below would be exempt. Above 20 megawatts would be, the suspension would apply to those. And I just learned about megawatts in the last year. So I know it's not a unit of measure most people think in, but 1 megawatt powers approximately 1,000 residential homes. So that's the easiest way to think of it.
Okay.
Prior to that, in the city, we had nothing close to 20 megawatts.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I think in the interest of transparency, we need to continue a few line of questioning. It was mentioned, if you can go back to this slide of, I think that it was titled Important Application. I think this is worth repeating because I see audience members here who are interested in one of the two sites that are exempt. It says applications already in process are reviewed under existing zoning. The proposed moratorium does not apply retroactively. Could you speak to the two organizations? And I think at this point, since they've applied for permits, is it fair that we can mention them by name? And if not, you can tell us.
Mayor, I can say that there are two applications that we have received for a new data center. One is expansion of an existing data center, and another one is a new data center application. Those applications have been received and are under review and are going through the normal review process under the current regulations. And so those two applications are not subject to the moratorium as written, and will continue that regulatory review process as already defined by our zoning ordinance and our building and technical codes, without specifying specific locations. But there are two pending.
Okay.
Hi, good morning, Council. Julie Bernarda, serve as an Assistant City Attorney in the Office of the City Attorney. And we were discussing, I do not believe that the projects that are underway are secret. One of them is an expansion of DC blocks. They have clearly on their website that they plan an expansion, and my understanding is they have submitted permits for that expansion. The other one is the project that's by Nebius, that's in Oxmoor Valley. They have been participating in public meetings. They have made applications, and those applications are proceeding. The parts of them that go through public processes are going through while the, actual plan review is being done by staff.
Mr. Chairman, I apologize to keep interrupting, but I thought it was important that the legal department, like transparency is on our side. So we should just speak as plain as possible to the sensitive nature of what's before us. And we have to be honest and direct and open as possible with our residents and or those who are affected. If you go back to that slide one more time, that's titled Important Application. It's been stated twice, so based on the two names you just said, Block Global, which is in the District 6.
DC blocks.
DC Blocks, thank you, I apologize. Thanks for correcting me, Mr. Chairman. DC Blocks, which is in District 6, all the 6th Avenue South Corridor, as well as Nebius in the Oxmoor Valley. It has been stated by professional staff, based on information we receive, that if this council decided to pass a moratorium, those two would be excluded based on the significant amount of work that's already been done. One already existing and expanding. They've been in existence in our city since 2018. I do not believe by definition, they are considered a hyperscale. Is that correct? Not now. Same would be for the Oxmoor Valley neighborhood. All right. So that's just a note. I wanted to make that note as audience members in this room are championing a moratorium. That does not exclude what currently exists for those two applicants. And I just wanted to state that for the record.
Okay, thank you. So regarding looking forward, acknowledging that there's two, applicants that are already underway that would not be impacted by this, but looking forward, talk to me a little bit about the large and hyperscale data centers in terms of their timeline. The moratorium suggests a approximately 6 to 9 month pause on temporary on a temporary suspension of permitting for that time period. In thinking about whether or not to support the temporary suspension, what is a typical timeline for this type of applicant to have in advance of applying for permitting?
I was going to speak to the moratorium and the timeframes you might think of, and think in terms of what the purpose of the moratorium is. The moratorium would be not to just draft regulations, but to get those regulations in place and in force before we start getting other applications. And as Director Thomas has said, we probably will have the plan, if everything goes according to plan, move smoothly through all the committee processes that are required, the Planning Commission, and Planning and Zoning, and then get to the council, and there's no glitches. We should be having those regulations to the council in just under 60 days. But that doesn't necessarily mean they get adopted. Then you've got to publish them. So, there's a little bit of wiggle room there. But that's the current timeline. Director Thomas will speak, to the other part of it, but that is, to keep in mind someone who comes in and vests rights before those regulations in place would, be able to move forward, depends on where they get their rights vested.
So, Dr. Quinn, in terms of, what to expect when there's a gap between a moratorium not being in place and the actual policies being adopted. For hyperscale data centers in particular, there is a significant amount of due diligence that is needed before an application is filed. A lot of that is land and site acquisition, engineering, planning. There's also infrastructure studies. Reach out to our utility providers to see if they can accept or provide the transmission planning for these types of facilities. And so that utility coordination for power capacity, that the engineering and infrastructure studies that are needed, as well as the site control and land acquisition that's needed for these types of facilities, it could take several months for an application to get to a place for being ready for permitting.
Mr.
So
Chairman.
is it fair to say that, in the process of a potential applicant performing their due diligence, that there would be some conversations with staff ahead of that application?
Yes, absolutely. Part of our review process is to have pre-permit meetings as well as conceptual planning meetings. And so it's not something that someone just comes in and drops in an application. There's a significant amount of coordination that occurs before an application is received.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, may I ask that in a plainer way? Does professional staff and the PEP team expect anybody to walk in or off the street and ask for a permit in the next 60 days?
We don't, based on the due diligence that's needed to stand up one of these.
Okay. Do members of the council have any questions for staff? Council President?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for presenting this ordinance and taking into consideration the suggestions that were made by the Planning and Zoning Committee. I just want to be sure that I am clear on the suspension that is before us. It does take for 180 days, 180 days. And what you've presented to us is a timeline that you feel you could expedite outside of this that would give you the information you need to strengthen or make changes to the draft that we have, or to go through this process within 60 days. Is that what this is saying?
Yes, that is correct. So, so again, the temporary suspension was in place to give us time to research, maintain the status quo. We have completed that research. We have draft zoning ordinance amendments that are ready to go through that normal regulatory review process, starting with the Birmingham Planning Commission and ending with a final public hearing by the city council. That time frame that we are proposing is about a 60-day window, starting with the first public hearing with the Planning Commission being March 18th, and then the city council hearing possibly being on April 28th.
But if this does, we don't enact this suspension today, that does mean that other companies or other potential clients could come in and pull these permits and want to try to do business within the city. Is that correct?
Yeah, we don't foresee that based on the due diligence, but it's not, can't just absolutely guarantee that nothing will come in. But based on the due diligence timeframe for most of these hyperscale data centers, we do not foresee that. If one were to come in, we will still hold it to the existing zoning ordinance requirements, all of the normal reviews, public hearings, and everything that will normally take place for these types of facilities. We will implement those standards.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Question. So as I understand the timeline, most of the required committee meetings, the Planning Commission meeting, the Planning and Zoning Committee meeting, I think ZAC is also in there. But in any case, the way you're getting to April 28th is also due to 4 weeks of advertising for the public hearing?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, thank you. Other questions? Councilor Vasa?
Yes, thank you, Chair. Director Thomas, heard you say that the reason behind the temporary suspension in the first place was to press pause on the data center permit applications, so there could be time to create an ordinance. Is that correct?
Yes, that's
And then I've heard you say that the ordinance is close to conclusion and should be ready in about 60 days.
yes, that is correct.
Okay, that's good to hear. My only hesitation in not moving forward with a temporary suspension at this time is that in the absence of a temporary suspension, as you mentioned, there might exist the possibility for applications to move forward that would not apply to the new ordinance. Is that correct?
That is correct.
So for that reason, I just am sort of inclined to suggest that would it be possible, Director, to move forward with a temporary suspension with an amended timeline that would be around 60 days to allow for the ordinance to be developed during that time frame?
Yes, that could be an option as well.
Thank you.
Other questions? Council Williams.
Thank you, both of y'all who recognize me. You know, when we're looking at a 20 megawatt site, you know, there's one thing that we're all familiar with in Birmingham is that we don't have a lot of flat sites for economic development projects. We're in the process now of trying to create more, obviously, to bring more opportunities to Birmingham with dormant sites or brownfields, whatnot. Have y'all done an analysis? I mean, I think I know the answer to this, but have y'all done any analysis on, you know, how many sites are actually available that would be able to have that amount of land mass and be close enough to a grid that could accommodate that? And the reason I ask that is, you know, there's been a lot of rhetoric about what happened in our neighboring municipality of Bessemer, and I think that we all collectively know that we don't want that same scenario to happen in Birmingham. However, I don't think that we have the land mass or site availability for that to occur. So have y'all done, can y'all shed some light on if there is that type of site available?
We have not done a detailed parcel by parcel analysis of sites that could be suitable. And I think one reason that is because, like, you can see, like, DC Blocks is a good example. It's not on a huge site in Titusville, and it's upscaling on the current site. And there are examples across the United States, LA in particular just recently permitted one that is vertical. So you don't necessarily have to have a massive amount of acreage to do a data center development. And, you know, hyperscale it's a very big bucket. So 20 megawatts is generally the threshold, but they go up to, I believe the Colossus site in Memphis plans to upscale to 1,200 megawatts. So that is a massive necessarily land footprint. However, there are other hyperscale data centers that could exist more in a traditional office park setting today.
So a hyperscale data center could live in an office park?
Let's just answer it with the two applications that exist, just based on the information professional staff has shared with the mayor's office. I think he gave you a number about 1,200 megawatts for the Memphis site, correct? Well, in comparison, the Bessemer site is probably about 1,500 megawatts. We would probably say, based on the information we receive, which is very preliminary, that the site on Lake Shore would be under 400. So 3 times less.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Question, so staff has stated that you guys have completed your analysis and are ready to move forward through the process of proposing some code amendments. Can you give, we're about to have a public hearing. There's going to be a lot of folks who speak to various issues. I feel confident that there's going to be a lot of concerns raised regarding data centers generally. Can you give us a preview of the code amendments that will be suggested?
So, there was a slide that, I think I go to that. So as, Hunter stated, definitions for one, because right now we don't define these. So there are various definitions that are being added to the zoning ordinance, based on scale, size, energy, capacity. There are infrastructure and utility, considerations as well. And so, as you may be familiar with the zoning ordinance and our permitted use table, so the different types of data centers will be added to the permitted use table, and we will identify different zoning districts where they would or would not be allowed. They will all have conditions that will have to be met. Those conditions look at landscaping, look at utilities, look at types of water consumption, energy consumption. There's a long list of conditions. It started out at about 30, and so we have condensed those some. But it is a working draft. Our goal is not to just present draft amendments and then say, hey, vote on this. It is a process that we will still hear from the public today, hear from you as the council. There'll be some targeted stakeholder engagement meetings that will occur over the next couple of weeks. And then the Birmingham Planning Commission will review those regulations as well and offer inputs. But as a, very high level, the draft regulations will address where they can be, how we define them, and the various conditions that help protect our resources and protect surrounding properties from any land use compatibility issues.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask
sir.
an additional question on top of the question you had? There's a memorandum and a FAQ shared with council. Council has expressed, I think, again, in the interest of transparency, sharing that information with the public. So any of those FAQs we can share now, if it's okay with this committee, Mr. Chairman. Professional staff is willing and ready to do that now.
Okay. All right. I did want to point out a couple of concerns. So in the previous public comment, we heard a lot about concerns over potential air pollution, potential, water pollution. A couple of things have come up since then that have been mentioned that I was curious about. The first is considerations for noise and also light pollution. So in the recommendations that are coming forward, are there or could there be considerations for those two aspects of these types of facilities?
Yes, absolutely. You want to provide some details on those too?
I can give some detail. I have some notes right here that has been shared with us that I want to pull up. Set aside, again, what's before you related to moving forward. But again, I can scan the audience. I think there's some serious worry, concern about what exists or could possibly exist in the Oxmoor Valley neighborhood. So related to the water demand infrastructure concern, that organization proposes a closed-loop cooling system with a daily water withdrawal of 0.3 to 0.5 billion gallons per day, which is a meaningful improvement over conventional evaporative cooling at this scale. So for the record, that's a very large scale. That's note one. I think our question to that organization, and we're waiting to get that information back, What capital improvements will water utilities require to serve BHM 01? And are those costs fully assigned to that organization through a developer's main extension agreement? We're waiting to receive an answer on that question related to that water usage. And when time requires, Mr. Chairman, because I know the public needs to speak first, there's some additional information we want to share related to the concern, worry, for those two developments that have already requested permits, separately from what professional staff is doing to walk out these new regulations.
Okay. All right, before we hear from the public, does council have any more questions? Councilor Gunn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I do have a question regarding the 20 megawatt threshold. How did we get to that level as like that's the threshold for 20 megawatts?
Yes, thank you. So 20 megawatts was determined as kind of a guiding thing from the industry. It's like that's generally the threshold where something crosses into hyperscale in terms of its impact. The American Planning Association put out a guidance document on regulating data centers. That was the threshold cited in that document. There's not a national standard that's just this is hyperscale and this is not. However, 20 megawatts seems to be the established standard.
Okay, thank you. To follow up to that question, I'm really concerned about the potential for some of the data centers to scale. I know I heard mention of the Memphis site scaling to 1,200 megawatts. And I understand that the ordinance that we are possibly considering is not retroactive, but is there possible consideration that an ordinance could prevent some scaling?
So anything that is currently existing today or going through that process, once the new draft ordinance is adopted, they would potentially become legal nonconforming, which means that that site is fine as it exists. However, if it scaled up, it would have to become conforming to the new ordinance.
Thank you.
Okay, so now we'll move on to hearing from members of the public. So if you're here to speak to this issue, for or against, we're ready to receive those comments now. So if you'll start a line on either side here, and when you approach the lectern, please remember to state your name and address. Each person speaking will have 3 minutes to give their comments. The timer will be displayed on the monitors behind us. So first speaker, please.
Hi, thank you for letting me talk. My name is Jennifer Gossard. I am at 1004 Sydney Park, Birmingham. So I just want to start out saying I work for a very large hotel company. We're the largest hotel company in the world, and I work in global technology. So I understand development. I understand the importance of AI, the technology. I understand the changing landscape of technology and the need. But I also am a very proud member of the Oxmoor neighborhood, and I think that's very important, is that the mayor clearly stated this is a neighborhood. This is not a area that has really got a lot of these types of businesses, nor do we want them. So my neighborhood sits right against the Robert Trent Jones golf course and next to the school and right across the street from the area that they're talking about on Lake Shore. Since they've started construction on tearing down some of the buildings, it is loud. I work from home. I can choose to live anywhere in the world. It's my luxury. I choose Birmingham. I choose Birmingham for many, many reasons. One of them is because of the Oxmoor neighborhood. By putting something there, it's going to hurt the value of my home. It's going to hurt the opportunities within that area. I think if you look at the area, it has had great growth. There's been a lot of, my neighborhood is brand new. There's an area right across the street that's building new houses. We have a wonderful animal shelter that's being built that's hopefully opening soon. So much opportunity for growth within that neighborhood. I think it would be a awful thing for the city of Birmingham to not see that with the changing demographics, the importance of homes that people can afford. I just think that we need to look at also not just the landscape of this business of technology, but what opportunity you're going to be losing by putting something of that mass scale in that area.
Okay, just remind you and folks who are yet to speak, what's before us today would not impact the Nebius project. So I appreciate your comments and understand. Just want to be clear that this is not, what we're considering today wouldn't impact the outcome of that project.
So where is that? I heard a lot of what ifs, how's that. Can you explain to me? I still don't understand. Where are we with that project? Has everything been approved? We have no say in what happens?
So my understanding is that the property, the way it's been zoned, that one of the allowed uses for that zoning is for a data center. The only thing that's really in question is a consideration before the Zoning Board of Adjustments for allowing a utility substation at that location. So, that's not us. The Zoning Board of Adjustments is a quasi-governmental or quasi-judicial body that hears requests for variances and things of that nature. Their application in this case is for a special exception to allow the substation for that facility.
Right, so additional space. So again, I understand. So sorry I misspoke. So we'll see. I mean, at this point, it's up to you to identify what's important to your city. So I'll leave it at that.
So again, what's before us today
Understood.
would impact any new facilities that are potentially looking at applying for permitting in the city. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next speaker, please.
Hello. I'm Paul Godby. I live at 920 24th Street South. I'm president of the Southside Neighborhood Association, and I'd like to speak to that. Maybe there might be some unintended consequences to these data centers. First off, as far as the power supplies goes, the military is developing a small portable nuclear reactor to help power their bases as they go overseas. These are in the 5 megawatt to 12 megawatt range. And there has been some talk about this being developed for commercial uses. So we're looking at maybe having nuclear reactors at a later date at these things, not just gas turbines or pulling off the grid. The second thing is, what exactly do these data centers do? And in China, they've been using them very extensively. I have a variety of videos on my cell phone so I can verify what I'm going to say here. These are all done by investigative journalists. The Chinese have set up a national ID cashless system which uses facial recognition. You have to buy with your face, get transportation with your face, get housing with your face, all done through a computer system and things. They even limit travel, like within neighborhoods, like a 15-minute city, that type of thing. And the children are being taught how to use facial recognition in their schools. So they go to pay for the lunch, they just show their face and bing, they get a meal. So there's a lot of long-term consequences to what these data centers are going to be doing. And I think maybe we need to rethink this and have some other safeguards put in to protect our rights. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, council members. Mayor, thank you for highlighting transparency. With the conversation this morning, I was somewhat heartened when I heard a moratorium, and now that's all vanished. My name is Rob Sansom. I live at 3962 Sydney Trail. We moved into our new home a little over 2 years ago and picked a lot that had wonderful trees. It had a little bit of wetland behind it. And my wife and I retired that with the extension on the back of the house. This was our quiet area. For the last week and a half, I've been looking straight out my patio at the demolishment of a site that will now be constructed into the new one. And I understand, thank you, Council Member, for pointing out that I guess we don't have any choice at this point. But that's what we're living at. We have hundreds, if not thousands. We're just one story. But these are impacting, President, this is your area. We're the neighbors that live there. And it sounds like we didn't have a choice until this thing got to a point where now it's going to be built. Our houses are being impacted. The values already, even if this was a wonderful modern day operating facility, the negative connotation that goes along with this. And I understand economic development, and I'm all for it, but when you consider these things, please, with the same amount of energy and importance, consider us. We're the people that you're supposed to represent in our city, and I applaud you all for the wonderful leadership that you give us. But this is an area that we really need to get a handle on before we do anything else. So thank you all for providing us the time for this, but please understand there are a lot of concerns about it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and
Please.
councilors. My name is Renetta Brown. I live at Sydney Drive in the Grand Subdivision. And I am also disappointed to hear there's nothing we can do about it. A company from the Netherlands can come in and destroy our environment, perhaps. I don't know. I think there's a lot of unknowns about AI and data centers, but everything that I Google about data center pollutions is negative. I have yet to see one positive story. It emits PFAS gases, which are forever chemicals. It can do other environmental damages, particulate nitrogen oxide emissions from these gas turbines that run 24 hours a day, causing humming. We have schools within a short vicinity, some that serve neurodivergent children. We have an animal shelter coming up. Can you imagine dogs hearing a 24-hour-a-day hum and what that will do to them? We have two diverse, thriving neighborhoods. One is there and new. One is coming up. We have apartment buildings nearby. And again, as tax-paying citizens, I think it looks bad to this historic city to say someone can come in and put something in that we don't even understand, and that all we can see that it does is damage. I don't care how much money they're gonna contribute to schools. If you're killing us, you don't belong in our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, Mayor Pro Tem, which is my representative. My name is Grace Woodson, and I live in the West Go-Y Estate, and I represent basically 3 neighborhoods because I have 3 family homes that is also in West End Highland and Powderly, and as I said, West Go-Y Estate. What I have not heard from this entire thing is how this is causing a health problem. Nobody has addressed what it's going to do to our neighborhoods, to the human standards in this. Now, I did my own research as well, and I went out on the global website, and they talked about the damages that is done to the humans, and not only those that live in that communities, but also the staff that will be working into these data centers. We already know we got a health problem here in the United States. One of the problems that this is going to cause is a hearing problem. Now, y'all was talking about wattage and whatever, but what we know is decimals. And what my understanding is, the level of decimals for harmful hearing is at 85. These companies produce 96 decimals. So that means that we already got senior citizens in the West Go-Wide state. We already have hearing problems by natural. But with this coming up, I want y'all to take a moment and think about the health problems that we Black people already have. We live in a community where we got oil wells, we got these power lines going all over everywhere, we got 18-wheelers going up and down the highway with the oil and what have you, and now y'all want to put a data center right in the Black neighborhood. So I just want you guys, I'm not trying to go against the data center. I understand progress, but I do understand when somebody said there were 2 applications, one for a new build and one for a renovation of another building. Well, my recommendation is, okay, if we're going to go forward, let's go forward with the new build and go with the ideas that the global company said these people can do as far as protecting our water, as far as protecting our electricity, and even Donald Trump said if the data centers are going to go up, you need to produce your own electrical grids. So Birmingham, our council, I am saying to you guys, y'all represent us, and that is exactly what we need from you, is to take under consideration the health thing, send these people back, and make them do their research on the health program. Thank you, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. Yeah, just, we did ask during the staff's presentation about including regulations in the proposed ordinance that would take into consideration air quality, water pollution, noise, and light pollution. So definitely we'll be looking at that. Next speaker.
Good morning, Mayor Woodfin, City Council. I'm Julianne Tharp, the Field and Advocacy Fellow at GASP, the Greater Birmingham Alliance to Stop Pollution. We're located at 2320 Highland Avenue, Suite 270, Birmingham, 35205. GASP supports a temporary suspension on all data centers to fully evaluate all the steps Birmingham must take to ensure any future data center developments are in the best interest of its citizens. No more prospective applications should be accepted until all community members have had ample time and many opportunities to consider and provide input so they have a choice for regulations on data centers to be put in place. As a grassroots environmental justice organization, we at GASP are concerned about the additional pollution hyperscale data centers would bring and the cumulative impact from facilities that already exist. Most data centers use diesel-powered backup generators that release nitrogen oxide and fine particulate matter directly into the air, and breathing in these pollutants have proven to lead to acute and chronic lung diseases such as asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and different types of cancer. We know that industries flock to areas where the most marginalized communities are least equipped to handle the consequences to their health. Any economic benefits by data centers must not be outweighed by public health consequences that also take a toll on our energy and water, not to mention healthcare systems. We understand that Birmingham is a special place with a long history of industry. We have worked and continue to work hard to ensure all Alabamians have a right to clean air. Hyperscale data centers could derail the progress that has been made and still needs to be made for all Birmingham families and communities to live in a clean and healthy environment. Please slow down on any developments and pass this temporary suspension. Thank you for your transparency and care in including the community in your decision-making process.
Thank you. All right, next speaker, please.
Good morning. My name is Charles Miller. I live at 2909 Highland Avenue South in Highland Park neighborhood. I've lived in the city for over a decade, and I actually was not planning on speaking on this issue today, but what occurred during the presentation and during the discussion raised a question for me, specifically about this vesting of future rights. Generally speaking, in Alabama, there's no vesting of future rights. If you don't put the property to whatever use is going to be prohibited by a moratorium or a zoning change before that enacts, then you're out of luck. To quote the Alabama Supreme Court in a case called Breland versus City of Fairhope, an application for a permit does not automatically give the applicant a vested right to avoid compliance with later duly enacted ordinances under a municipality's police power. We don't recognize, we don't recognize purely regulatory takings either. So I don't necessarily understand the argument that any moratorium wouldn't apply to people who are in the steps of making permit applications. That also covers expansion. And this is the default rule throughout most states, and it's the rule in Alabama. And we have, as I mentioned, a case, Breland versus City of Fairhope. The Supreme Court of Alabama handed that down in 2020. So I have a hard time understanding the argument that the city doesn't have any ability to put a pause not only on future data centers, but these two that have been proposed as well. So I'd like the city council to kind of think about that and maybe ask some questions of the city staff and attorney on that. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning to Mayor Wolfen, to Council President Wardine Alexander, and the fellow city council members. I'm John Meehan. I am a resident at 3001 Avenue D in Inslee. I've been there I've been in Inslee all my life, but I am a new resident at that house. I'm coming here to talk about the data centers. Pope Francis, back 10 years ago, some of you all probably he wrote Laudato Si, which means climate change. It means taking care of our common home. Well, our common home is right here in our neighborhoods. Our common home is right here. We don't need data centers to come in our communities because it's not right. Poor communities suffer enough. We don't need them. We don't need them to come out here and yes, it's the poor communities. It's our poor communities that's going to suffer. And don't forget, our rates are going to go sky high. Do we need that? That's going to hurt the poor. That's going to hurt low-income citizens. I'm just saying here, now, and I've looked up this thing, and I've been doing a lot of research, and I'm going to put it this way. Data centers heavily impact poor and marginalized communities by straining local infrastructures and exacerbating existing inequalities, often without providing significant long-term employment. Key impacts include severe water depletion in drought-prone areas, increased utility bills for residents, air pollution from diesel generators, and noise pollution, frequently turning these areas into sacred zones for tech expansions. So please, look at this. Think about the people that you represent, that sent you here. Think about them. You know, we don't need these data centers. Think about the poor. Think about your communities. Low-income communities are going to suffer, and it's time that we be advocates for them, not these high-tech companies that want to come in here and bring their stuff and data centers in here and cause all destruction. So I ask, don't let data centers in our communities. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, council, mayor. My name is Ronald Jackson. I'm here representing Citizens for Better Schools and Sustainable Communities. I will begin and end with Proverbs 22:22. Now, I don't know how you really comment on something that you have not had the opportunity to read. I don't know how you all have done this, but I will say this, that what you're attempting to implement now is a bomb rush on we the citizens of this city. Even with your proposal to extend something right now, I ask you to reconsider that. What I am here to say to you today, that if you proceed through the process that you have now, you are the revenants and will become the revenants of Jim Crow Black Code law. I don't think you want to go down in history as that. And what I mean in plain language is this. I want you to look out today as you leave and look at I-65, the northwest, the southwest. Draw that line. And then look back at what is being done now in terms of the way you've been investing thus far. Oh, all kinds of things are coming from the east, right on back, over to I-65. That's that red line of your new Jim Crow segregation. I hope you will think about this. Heard of CSX Railroad? Heard of Burlington Northern? Where's going to be all your plans to take care of the transportation needs that merger of CSX and Norfolk Southern is going to do? Where are going to be the overpasses that you all have not even put one penny to think about, let alone investing in terms of what that's going to do to this city? I will submit to you some written information after today, but I'm saying to you right now, each one of you who want to support what this proposal is about, you're becoming Jim Crow segregationists, and you can take this notion that you've always been floating about how much advancement Birmingham has made. I want you to do this in my closing here today. 13.
Please wrap
Former
up your
mayor-
comments.
May I finish up, please, sir?
You're out of time, so please wrap up your comments.
Thank you very kindly. And I wrap it up and encourage every last person here to go to Channel 13 and pull up the interview in Black History Month that Mayor Richard Arrington just did, talking about just what I said about the revenants of Jim Crowism. I end it now, but please, when you leave here tonight, look at it, think about it, and remember Proverbs 22:22. Thank you kindly.
All right, thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mayor, City Council, thank you for allowing me to speak. I had a long speech, a 3-minute speech prepared. My name is John Hilly. I live at 3963 Sydney Park Trail, or Sydney Trail, which is 900 feet directly across Lake Shore from this proposed facility. I understand this facility is going forward as planned. You know, they put their teeth in the ground real quick to fast pace this thing to be able to pass, because they know all the unknowns are not available to everyone, so they want to get these things in the ground and do a foundation first to be able to get, you know, teeth in the ground to be able to start this, so we can't, you know, control it anymore. I agree with this gentleman earlier. I don't understand why we can't go back and retroactively these other facilities that are going to directly affect me and my wife. We moved here over a year ago. We got married, sold our house, moved over here a year ago. In, as Rob said, into a place where we wanted to retire, live the rest of our lives, our forever home. Now we're wondering about that decision. You know, we hear the sounds of the destruction, of the demolition every day. I'm inside my house, and it rattles, it you know, shakes. You can hear it. I measured it on my sound readings, about 60 to 65 dBA outside my house during the construction. That was during the construction yesterday. Of course, the traffic was about 50, 55. What they don't tell you is the developer said they're going to do around 60 to 65 dBA on these systems. What they don't tell you is that low tonal noise travels further because of the lower sound, the longer sound waves. They can go around objects and through walls. So a constant 60 dBA to 65 dBA is going to be a rattle inside our homes constantly. You know, traffic is transient. It passes, goes by. This is a constant hum. Not only noise pollution, energy use, water usage, you have to also be concerned with PFAS, forever chemicals that are used in the closed loop systems. They use that for staining, or for anti-stain, anti-rust, and able to flow the circulation of the water through these closed systems. Forever chemicals don't go away. You can't incinerate them, you can't get rid of them, you can't burn them. They'll stay forever. That's why they're called forever chemicals. When this PFAS chemicals are released to the air, they turn into what they call a TFA compound. That is not regulated in the United States, but it is regulated all over the world. And it's actually it's finding to be more hazardous than some of the PFAS forever chemicals that are around. So anyway, I just respect that, you know, we don't need data centers. I'm just really concerned about the pollution, the constant noise, the generators running on, construction traffic, the 500 homes being built behind us, the Jefferson County Humane Society, Red Mountain Park, all that's going to be affected. I wish there was a way to go back and retroactive and make these people written guarantees. If they're going to go with this, we want written guarantees of what's going to be done, how it's going to affect us, what our recourses are, that we can come back and you know, and claim something, because we're not getting anything out of this. I have no benefit in this whatsoever, at all. You know, I've paid my taxes, I've done my duties, and I'm here to retire, and this is not going to affect me one bit. I can go online right now and get anything I need to get, ChatGPT, anywhere. We don't need extra data centers around here. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Peggy, should I raise it?
You're good.
Okay, Peggy Gargis, 3931 South River Circle in Cahaba Heights. I'm about a stone's throw anywhere I am from District 2, because Birmingham weaves in and out of us and goes farther on down. So I feel an interest, even though I am an Auslander in Birmingham. And I'm here to talk about economic development, which I've heard touted regarding data centers. My question is, whose economic development? And I will dredge up memories of the super sewer, pardon the pun. As you may remember, we were told repeatedly that getting more ratepayers into Jefferson County sewer program would strengthen the pool of would build the pool of ratepayers, which would lower the cost for everybody. How did that work out for us? We had the largest municipal bankruptcy in U.S. history, until Detroit defaulted. Why do I bring that up? Because also water, electricity, even gas, and sewers will be needed for data centers. And as I was listening to the November 17, 2025 meeting of the now named Central Alabama Water, I heard agenda item number 18 discussed regarding a payment of $80,000 retroactively to Water Research Foundation, which was to help them build a toolkit and standards for recruiting large water users. And in that discussion, I heard data centers as an example of large water users. Water rates are paid by every ratepayer, no matter where we live, where we are, and we can't afford to increase the rates on the poor or even the middle class for things that we do not need. And I will leave you with this thought. One of my city planning and zoning members reminded us repeatedly that the Planning and Zoning Commission's hands are tied. They can vote no very rarely, but they can vote against something if it violates public safety, public health, or public welfare. I don't see how any of those standards can be met by proceeding apace with data centers, and I pray that you will keep and impose a moratorium to keep these data centers at bay. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hi, everyone. Hi. My name is Kelly Marshall. I live at 3015 13th Avenue South. That is in Highland Park. I am the secretary of the Highland Park Neighborhood Association. I have lived in Birmingham City for my entire life. I graduated from Huffman High School, go Vikings. I have worked in the city for my entire adult life, and for 25 years I have volunteered for or worked for dozens of nonprofits throughout Birmingham, including Art Walk that I'm wearing today. I have spent many hours volunteering and thinking about how to attract people of all walks of life to Birmingham, to this incredible city. And I've also thought so much about how to keep them here. I'm here today to urge you guys to adopt this temporary moratorium. We do need to develop a comprehensive framework to regulate these data centers, but I really hope that is after hearing what has happened today. I really hope that that happens after talking with Birminghamians and not just business. I hope that the PEP considers talking with groups like GASP that talked before, Southern Environmental Law Center, Alabama Rivers Alliance, our river keepers, our people that work here, live here, and play here and want Birmingham to be a place that people want to come and live and work and play. No doubt, as everybody has said, we're in the midst of an enormous expansion of this data center infrastructure throughout the U.S., and states like Alabama are firmly within the crosshairs of that industry. And it's not because we are so pro-business. It's because we don't have proper protections in place for our water resources. Putting a pause on this industry putting a pause on an industry that has the potential to have serious impact on Birminghamians and our community until we have these reasonable regulations in place, that is not anti-business, that is pro-community. That is pro-Birmingham, and that is pro-Birmingham residents. Like many industries that are experiencing this rapid growth, there is enormous amount of hype and marketing surrounding the data centers that fuel their growth. We all know that. We know about that there's a potential for the financial bubble. So what happens when there's a bubble bust and then we have these facilities that aren't operating as they should? That does not attract people here, and it certainly does not keep people here. This is an industry that is yet to break even, let alone post a profit. And I just want I'm going to skip over a lot of the stuff that everybody has said about data centers because it does seem like you guys are looking into them and recognizing. I know you guys have received a lot of emails from people that live in this city that want you to adopt this moratorium and really give a focused effort to make sure our people are protected. The last thing I want to say is the people are the city, not the businesses. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Ryan Anderson, and I'm a staff attorney at the Southern Environmental Law Center. Our address is 2829 2nd Avenue South. As has been discussed today at length, data centers have tremendous resource needs and present unique land use challenges because of that. That's why, as you've recognized, we need to update our laws to meet that need and to match the pace of growth that the AI industry has seen, particularly in the last couple of years. We need our laws to balance the economic and societal benefits of AI infrastructure with the cost to communities and our shared resources. And that's why we support a temporary suspension on data center development while the city does just that. But timing is important. We need these protections to apply to all of our citizens equally. I want the folks in Oxmoor Valley to have the same protections as Birmingham residents who find themselves neighbors with a data center developer 6 months from now. And I don't want developers taking advantage of timing to avoid application of common sense zoning regulations that are meant to protect our citizens. If a developer cannot agree to abide by the law of our city, then perhaps they don't deserve to count themselves as a good neighbor. The last thing I'll say about timing is that today a lot of concerns were brought up about the Nebius proposal, and that's because, in my opinion, there is no opportunity for a public hearing on that development. There is no rezoning proposal before the city council where citizens could come before you and have their case heard, and the developer could come before you and have their case heard. That's why you're hearing so much frustration, and so I ask, in considering the framework of these new zoning regulations, that you ensure that there is a public input process for any kind of data center development, because if these things are coming to our backyard, we deserve to have a say, and we deserve to have a say in the appropriate forum, not necessarily at different types of hearings like a moratorium hearing, or I was present at the hearing last week on the application for the substation for the Nebius proposal. So I think that could go a long way to foster trust and transparency with our citizens. And because Nebius has been brought up today, I understand that's not what you are deciding. I do just want to raise a couple of issues and questions with that. And first, I think it would go a long way after hearing all of these people speak to have a really firm explanation of why these new regulations and the moratorium do not apply to the Nebius proposal. Second, we would like to understand what kind of permits they've actually received, because my understanding is, again, the substation special exception use permit, that's still pending. So again, I'm not understanding the explanation that these regulations cannot apply. So thank you for the time to make a public comment, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Hey, good morning, Mayor Woodfin. Good morning, council members. I'm Matthew, a resident off the Beacon Parkway, and I work in Birmingham as a software engineer at a local startup. I work in technology. I'm not afraid of technology. I'm not afraid of AI, but I am concerned about some of the massive wealth inequality that these developments will help encourage, and also some of the profiteering that will happen at the expense of us, and also, yeah, just these disruptive developments in nearby densely populated areas. So I support the moratorium. And to say a little bit more, these companies come with nice projections and promises, but it seems long-term it'll be Birmingham residents subsidizing their cost. We've heard complaints about electric grid strain, potential rising utility bills, and noise pollution, while the majority of the profits end up leaving the city. The compute they build concentrates power in the hands of a few and will displace white-collar knowledge workers here. So I urge you all to vote yes on a properly linked suspension to give adequate time to set adequate policy before approaching more projects like this. Thank you. Oh, also, I do want to say I do appreciate you all seem to be very receptive to these concerns, and I admire that. So thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. All right. Next speaker, please.
I'd like to say good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, Mr. President. I guess I might just got to be last, so I see I qualify. I've been in this community approaching 2 years. I live at 3953 Sydney Trail. I know when I was looking at the community, it was almost developed. It was maybe 6 or 7 lots left. And I kind of walked around, made an observation, and the community met what I was looking for. I'm a retired 2 tours of the Rat Combat veteran, so the fact that it was real quiet was a plus for me. But now here in the last, I guess 6 or 8 months, it seems like I'm back in the combat zone. It's noise, it's demolitions. That big building up there, I noticed the glass is out of it. I guess they're going to demolish it to put something there. I've always been concerned about these data centers. I'm no engineer or anything, but everything I've heard is no positive feedback from the people representing the data centers or whatever. And I hope that it doesn't create or continue to deal with the noise, because if what I'm dealing with is a prelude of what's to come, I may have to get out of there too, because I've noticed several homes going up for sale, and it's probably going to intensify once they get this thing built, because going down Lakeshore, it's plots of land cleared off everywhere. So I know they're going to put something there. I'm not exactly sure where the data center is going to be built, but now that I know one is going to be built over there, I have my concerns, not only with the noise, but the water and the electricity. I would hope that once it's built that it doesn't pull all the voltage from homes where you have power outages, because I experience that sometime now, and there's no explanation for it. I've heard in this meeting that they're supposed to build their own power supply. I don't know how that's going to work, but I'm old enough. I don't know if a lot of people in here recall. I remember several decades ago, before there was these data centers, that was the Emel landfill down there in South Alabama. They was using it for a dumping ground for radioactive material. It was states trucking that material in here. And there was a lot of people complaining, just like here. There were issues with people's health coming off of that, and in conjunction with that, here about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, if you recall, there was a lot of smoke coming from some kind of place out there in Moody, the Odenville area. They had people from high-dollar places coming in to inspect that. So I hope that this thing doesn't resemble some of that, but I guess time will tell, because it looks like it's going to be built. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. Next speaker.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Mayor Woodfin, President Wardeen, and other council members. I had almost decided not to speak until I heard the gentleman mention that there's still a chance for Oxmoor Valley. But I'm going to try and stick with the speech that I was going to make and had decided not to make, and now I'm back up here. So, good morning again. I believe today's meeting is centered around implementing a moratorium on data centers. How you define or frame this moratorium on data center is a different subject. While I support innovation and economic development, you must have clear infrastructure, fiscal, and environment guidelines before approving data center facilities. This should be your most defensible justification for a moratorium. This is pro-planning, not anti-growth. Why should you pause on a moratorium? I listed about 5 items. I'm going to hit on quickly before I get to the very end. Infrastructure planning and grid capacity. We need to have studies. Would data centers be responsible for any upgrades to the grids, maintaining infrastructure costs? Water and environmental impact assessment. Data centers require substantial cooling water. Why pause? Make them conduct the studies, because without guidelines, approvals of existing applications will exceed our environmental analysis. Fiscal safeguards and tax policy. Why pause? Have you negotiated tax abatements, payments in lieu of taxes, agreement structures? This could benefit the city if you end up approving them with defined payments rather than speculative. Develop other clawback provisions. What if, in the case of Oxmoor Valley, Nesbitt walks away? All we got is cleared land, so there should be some clawback provisions there, since we are now at the point that they will not fall under the new ordinances. Zoning and land use compatibility. Why pause? Decide where they should go. Industrial zones only or corporate office? Think about the noise, the setback, the heights, and the screening standards. And then most importantly, again, in the case of Oxmoor Valley, prevent first mover advantage lock-in. I got to the gate first, so there's no standards, there are no guidelines to do it. With it being approved quickly, I feel Oxmoor falls into this category. Land preservation is not being enforced. They have stripped all the mature trees there. So buffers that could have been there are gone. Nobody came out to stop them. It's just clear land. The vested rights that the individual mentioned there, I feel that there should be some consideration that the city does have the right to go back to say, okay, these are not going to fall in line with our ordinances, so you do not have just total protection. I am disappointed. But before I get to that, I'm just going to say I do support a temporary moratorium so that it will prevent reactive policymaking like what we're doing today. I am disappointed with the ordinance will not apply to existing applications because I believe, and I may believe incorrectly, the City Council had an opportunity in January to implement a moratorium and pause the existing until you get those guardrails in place. That's all we're asking for is the guardrails to protect us. Since this time, based on Birmingham Business Journal and other news outlets, applications that are in the pipeline now have been accelerated. They've been fast-tracked. I was at a meeting recently, I'm not going to say what meeting it was, and I heard some of these representatives ask, how will this moratorium affect our projects? And the people in the meeting, not calling names again, say, oh, your application would not be paused because a moratorium is not in place. At this point, the city possibly should research and see if that is applicable, because at this point, there are no safeguards. And having looked and drive down Lecture every day, I have to question if the zoning ordinances are truly being followed. A moratorium will give District 1, District 2, District 3, District 4, District 5, 6, the opportunity to have guardrails in place. But in District 7 right now, we're going with the flow. Thank you for the privilege of your time.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good morning, I'm Brian Cash. I live at 5433 10th Avenue South in Birmingham. I'm an attorney. I represent the Greater Birmingham Humane Society. Just to save time, I'm going to try and compile the thoughts that they have and don't want to be redundant. But obviously, GBHS supports the moratorium because we don't want someone else to end up like us and find out a 300 megawatt hyperscale facility is moving next to their project. We appreciate that the council and the city are developing these regulations. We also, when we set up our facility, we worked very closely with our neighborhood association. We were supported by the neighborhood, so we continue to support the neighborhood. And the neighborhood's concerns on this project are concerning. I think a reasonable ask, which is more directed to the administration, is if it's possible, we have the regulations, we have the zoning, the application still pending. If this can come out the other side, a conforming use to the new zoning and the new regulations, that would be best for everyone involved, instead of allowing a legal non-conforming use to come out the other side just because it's an application. So that's what we're hoping for. We're going to keep looking into it to try and see what we can do to make it okay for what we're trying to do, but I think something we would hope for is that it'll be a conforming use based on all the hard work that the city is doing to try and deal with these centers. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next speaker. Next speaker.
Good morning. My name is Ken Moore from 1517 5th Street North. Thank you, President Alexander, Councilor Tate, my counselor, and Mayor. I'm an advocate for the pause, and I'm calling it a pause. My background is managing portfolios where you do business cases for large investments, IT investments typically, and you're looking for the benefit to the investor, benefit to the customers, and in this case, to the benefit to the residents. AI will progress. We will continue to see AI centers being built, whether they're here, whether it's in the next town, next city that permits and allows it. The progress will continue, and it should continue. I'm a fan of it. What we have here is the opportunity to maybe do it differently, and I think Birmingham should be the place where it can happen. What I would ask is that Birmingham actually be the leader in helping the growth of IT in ways that the residents actually can say, yes, we like that. We think that will benefit us, and when we support it. I believe it's possible. I've not heard that in any of the conversations around AI, and I've paid attention to AI for quite some time. I believe we do have the opportunity in Birmingham to inform the citizens, to hear from the citizens, and put together an approach to go forward that allows Birmingham to lead the nation in actually helping AI progress and helping us get the benefit that AI brings.
Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else? Going once, going twice, all right. I'm sorry, yes, ma'am, please.
Save the best for last.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't know about that. Okay, good morning. I'm Madeline Green, forgot I'm short. Does that take away my minutes? No. Can it start over? Okay.
All right.
Okay, I'm Madeline Green, President of Oxmoor Valley Neighborhood Association. I do want you all to do the moratorium suspension, and it would be great. That's a great start. Okay, at the end of the public hearing on the moratorium on January 27th, Councilor Aquin stated that there are no new applications on file. I believe he didn't know, am I too close? I believe he didn't know that Nebius AI Factory had filed application on January 26th. A moratorium should have been placed while Councilor Alexander and our Commissioner, Sheila Tyson, were having private meetings with a select few of the neighbors from Oxmoor. I was invited to one of those with Nebius. Nebius asked for a meeting with the neighborhood. We had a call meeting to accommodate them and so that the neighbors would know. I recently learned that a member of Nebius' team was relaying to people that I and our neighborhood wanted the AI factory. The night before the public hearing of the Zoning Board of Adjustment, I received an email from John Sutter, VP of Nebius, advising me to go along with this approval of the substation and the switch station, and that we would talk later. This was intimidation, and it seems like bribery. I believe that if what mayor wants, mayor gets. and everybody must go with the mayor. But Mayor, you told me when I left out of a meeting at Boutwell, remember, that I was crying because they were serious, they were lying, and this guy, they wanted to put in a gas station. Okay, at that time, when I went out and crying about it, Mayor Wolfen came to me during the meeting, while the meeting was still going on, out by the elevator in the restroom. And so he told me, never let them see you cry. So he went in the restroom and got the tissue for me, brought it to me, and said, now get back in there. And so I did. Well, Mayor, I'm wearing black from crying for months inside. And the way I feel inside, is darkness by the city allowing a company whose owner is originally from Russia, but moved to the Netherlands to do business with the U.S., and that the city is supporting them by the fast track that they're going through. Yes, they've been going through all the necessary things, because I've been a part of the steering committee each time. But, Counselor, we need you. You haven't been there for us. You never came to us through this whole process. But we need you, and we still need you. So, my mayor, who has stood before us and supported us. You've supported me, Mayor. Every time I come before this, you supported me. The councils who are here have always been here. You supported us, which is a great thing. I don't mean to cry. What happened? Do our lives not matter? Shame on you. Think about God and think about what you need to do, because in the end, God will prevail. This AI factory will not be built. And I'm standing on that because I stand on God. So please take it into account that you all are our representatives, and we want you to represent us well. So.
Thank you, Ms. Green.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Chairman, before the council, I guess, deliberates and talks to each other, or any additional information to professional staff, I would like to share a few things. One, I'm very, very grateful, extremely grateful actually, for the residents, particularly those, which I think as well, probably a minimum of 8 out of 10 who spoke, live off of the Lakeshore Corridor via the Oxmoor Valley neighborhood. I'm very grateful for them being here. The other thing is Madeline Green has known me since literally I was a little boy, so I want to speak to her as the neighborhood president. I actually gave her a call this morning. We spoke briefly, but I reserve my remaining comments for this public meeting. And then I'm speaking to all the residents here who've shared their concerns. The bottom line human element of this is that the residents have honest, genuine concerns. If you made it plain speak, I don't want a data center next to me. Does it affect my power bill? Does it affect my water bill? It's noise, it's environmental concerns. These are genuine concerns. These are genuine concerns that actually need to be answered in any community. So I think the first thing I want to do is literally slow down, ask Ms. King to allow Julie Bernard, one of our city attorneys, to explain, and then I want to come back and continue a two-part conversation, one about what's happening in the Oxmoor neighborhood, and the other about this, what's before you. So, Ms. King, I think it's important, because the question was asked a minimum of twice from community members, why is this AI factory off Lakeshore excluded? And then I'm going to follow up soon as if Ms. Bernard is allowed to explain that.
Attorney Bernard, please come forward.
Good morning again. I think there have been several questions that have been asked. I think primarily, there's a question, this is not up for rezoning. First, I want to say the item that is before the council today is whether or not to put a moratorium on development of additional data centers in the city while the council considers the new regulations that staff has drafted. That is what this hearing was about. We've heard a lot about specific projects. There have been questions about, it's not up for rezoning. That area is zoned MXD and it's use group C2 under the MXD zoning for Oxmoor Steering Committee. That allows non-manufacturing research and development. So under, staff's analysis and, review, because there are several other data centers that exist in Oxmoor Valley right now. And but it allows this non-manufacturing research and development because we had no clear delineation to be able to, it doesn't say data center, but that's kind of where they fit. That's why we need specific use definitions. That's why we said we needed this pause to allow staff to develop all this, and we were starting to see inquiries coming. And that's why we asked for this moratorium, back in December, was to do that and try to get this pause. But that is why it's not up for rezoning. The determination by staff is that it would be allowed in that zoning district. And I know there have been conversations with the Nebius team on reducing as much. And there's still, I believe, there's still some questions that staff has had, that we're still getting, some definitions. Again, being exempt from the moratorium doesn't mean that something is automatically approved. They still have to get whatever, the ZBA approvals and all the plans, site plans and everything have to meet with the review of staff. So as you recall, with other moratoriums, we have had projects in progress come before this council for appeal hearings to move forward. Most of the time, a number of those times, the council has granted those because they were in progress and already had, they already had applications in progress and were already moving forward. So the council has often gone ahead. There is a question of vested rights in Alabama. And as one of the speakers said, there isn't a bright line test under Alabama law for vested rights. But, the council's had to evaluate all these. In this moratorium was just going ahead and providing an exemption for those that were already in progress. Again, it's not for those that just have had informal conversations with staff. It's for those that have actually gotten applications in that are going through the review process. So all it's really bypassing is that appeal to the council about moving forward with their project while a moratorium's in place.
Thank you, Attorney Bernard. Thank you, Attorney King. I think it's important, council, when we hear that to refresh our memory. We've had moments in our city where things have come to our city and communities and they've accelerated at such a pace where we believe they cause harm based on feedback from our residents and from our own sites. From our own eyesight. Think of the cash checking places that spread like wildfire and fire in our city. And at some point, it required a moratorium. But for those who were already in the queue, we could not, or who already had their process, whether it's their business license, permitting, construction, whatever, we couldn't just stop them. They were technically grandfathered in, even though we didn't like it. Moratorium went forward anyway as far as future. You add another example of the storage facility places. I think we all have recent recollection of that. One of the most contentious ones was in District 3, but they spread like wildfire in various city council districts, and the same thing happened, that we wanted to do a moratorium. And there were certain ones who were right in that gray area, middle of a process. And if we didn't include them, what they did was went across the park, they sued the city, and the judge reversed our decision. You fast forward to the car wash situation, and it's literally the exact same thing. They spread like wildfire in our city. We want a moratorium to get more rules and regulations around them because they didn't exist. And there were those in that gray area, and we're in the middle of some back and forth with your process of who could be grandfathered in, and if not, they can then appeal, go across the street, and I think we know the result of what a judge would do. And so from a historical standpoint, I'm looking at you and I'm speaking in reference to the audience of why can't this project on Lakeshore be included? It's because apparently throughout this process, they've gotten to the point where it's permits, and we can't just unilaterally do a moratorium. You have to give the public, what is it, a minimum of 30-day notice for a public hearing before we can just unilaterally implement a moratorium. So I thought that was worth actually explaining to the public why. I think in addition to that, again, I think this moment requires full transparency. Madam President, Wardine Alexander, and to all the residents of Oxmoor Valley, Wardine Alexander, your neighborhood president, and as mayor and professional staff, we weren't engaged until December, and I want to explain that to you. A private company can talk to a private company without ever engaging City Hall. It happens all the time in various lanes. In a situation like this, it was stated earlier, but it's worth repeating. Richard Arrington, during the annexation war, annexed a lot of areas of the city of Birmingham. One of those areas was the Lakeshore Corridor. It was mixed use, commercial and residential, but a significant intentionality around it was for commercial development. You fast forward today in 2026, there are a minimum of 4 data centers that exist today. We don't talk about it, but 4 data centers already exist on Lakeshore. To give more factual information, the current site that is under, I guess, deconstruction or demolition, that Regions Bank Center, by definition, was considered a data center. If you've ever been in it, the bottom floors that stretch at least 2 football fields, minimum, were just these, I don't know how to describe it, but machines, if you would. And so, again, having that information is important to the public, why your counselor didn't know or didn't have to be given information. Same for the mayor's office. And so I think that's important to note. We found out in the AL.com article that there was an actual real estate transaction. Ms. Green, you have to sit down. We're in a public hearing, Mr. Chairman. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. We found out in a public space like you did, the AL.com, that this real estate transaction happened. We found out in various ways prior to them walking into City Hall to start the permitting process that this was happening. And so she does deserve that cover, that she wasn't in on something that just plopped down in your neighborhood. I think that's important to note. There are a few more notes, and I know this is about a moratorium, Mr. Chairman, but we have to at least be human enough to acknowledge the fears, the worries, the concerns, the questions about what's happening on Lakeshore, because that dominated the public hearing. It deserves a response, which is separate from what's before you. So related to that, as I stated earlier, this project on Lakeshore is an AI factory. It's not a traditional sense of a data center. But you have these questions around utility. That includes water and power. You have these questions around environment, and then you have these questions around data security risks. So I want to speak to all of those, and then I want to tell you the 12 questions we have are going to present to Nevius. And then we're willing to do that in a public setting as well. The first thing is centered around just giving some context of what the state legislators are trying to do to protect our power bills. I think that one of the number one concerns is, does this affect my power bill? It's a very fair question, and it's a question that the utility company needs to address and respond to people. But as a note, Representative Rafferty and Senator Bell have House Bill 403 currently and SB 270 currently. The status is they both passed committee, but I want to read it to you. This bill would require data centers drawing 150 megawatts or more to pay the full cost of infrastructure upgrades they create and direct the PSC to confirm utility contracts with the data center benefit, with data centers to benefit up, that they don't pass on to ratepayers, basically. I think that's something that as counselors, as mayors, as residents, we should champion to make sure that whatever comes, even with this new regulations, that the power bill or increase of power bills, utility bills, isn't passed to the customer. That's a fair concern. It's a fair question. It's one need to be addressed. And we have a local representative out of the Jefferson County delegation who's literally co-sponsoring the bill with the senator to make sure we're protected. And that's affordability protection, because we know everyone's, whether it's several utility bills right now, are upset about their pay increase. I think the other thing is the environmental impact. We know that this facility will rely on large banks of backup generators. And I think that's a genuine concern, again, I have, you have, the residents have, related to what these generators will produce in environment and in sound. Information's been shared with us that approximately 375 megawatts for this project on Lakeshore. Now, in context, again, earlier I stated that it would be at least 1,500 megawatts for Bessemer. So literally it's apples and oranges. It's not the same. But in that, federal rules allows, this is the concern, that's a genuine concern. Federal rules allow unlimited runtime during emergencies and up to 100 hours per year for maintenance and testing. So the question around the health impact for what these generators produce is this. This depends significantly on the fuel type. Is it natural gas or diesel? I think the young lady from one of the organizations mentioned diesel. Our question to Nevius, or actually will be our request, but we demanded in conjunction in supporting the residents, since we couldn't stop this from coming, that you use natural gas. We believe that's beneficial. We believe it's less harmful. We believe it's less sound as it relates to the impact in community. The other thing is one of the recommendations, again, in context, the actual question to this organization is, as a city, we want to require available backup generation technology, public run-along disclosure, and the generator sitting at maximum distance from the residential boundaries. A lot of residents here are from Sydney Drive, which I think is probably the closest residential area. And so I think that's a fair request to ask. The other thing, again, it's worth repeating, the water demand and infrastructure. They propose a closed-loop cooling system with daily water withdrawal of 0.3 to 0.5 million gallons per day. Now, comparison, that's about 2.0 for the project in Bessemer. And the power is comparisons about equivalent of 275,000 residents, a little under 300,000. Bessemer comparison is about 1.1 million household equivalent. So again, I'm gonna maybe wrong repeat, but apples and oranges. This whole notion of full cost responsibility is something we're gonna press Is that an actual policy statute? Or is that something more that needs to be definitive to protect ratepayers related to water and power? A few more notes, and then I'll shut up. The questions we want to ask this organization, and there are 12 questions, so bear with me, Mr. Chairman and Council. One, will Nebius execute a binding publicly disclosed cost of service agreement with Alabama Power that prevents infrastructure costs from entering the system rate base? Two, what certain grid upgrades will be required and who bears those costs if the project is delayed, downsized, or abandoned? That's a very fair question. Three, what capital improvements will water utilities require to serve, and are those costs fully assigned to this organization through an agreement, or will that cost be passed to the ratepayer? Again, a very fair question. Then three questions around the environmental and community health. One being, what backup generation will they deploy, and will the company commit to best available emission controls and run log disclosure? Again, we will request natural gas, not diesel. Two, what noise mitigation measures will the facility employ, and will they commit to enforceable decibel limits at property boundaries? The young man who came with his wife, I don't remember his name, so forgive me, definitely mentioned those decimal points. So having that question, giving them that question, and getting that in writing from them prior to construction is important. Three, what certain environmental benefits will occur to the Oxmoor Valley neighborhood, not just the broader city, but pretty much a community benefits agreement. I think that's fair. I think that's something that's needed. And then there's questions around, I guess, like governance, around all the ownership and structures and investor identities, what information can be shared publicly, and then the economic impact and community benefit. I mentioned that briefly, but some additional questions. How many permanent locally hired high-wage jobs will this create? And is the projected $80 million annual school funding contribution guaranteed, or is that aspirational? What enforceable community benefit agreements will they execute with the Oxmoor Valley residents, covering workforce development, environmental monitoring, and neighborhood investment? And then the last question, what decommissioning and site reuse plan do they plan to commit to, and who bears those costs at the end of the facility life? So literally, maybe not in our lifetime, but at some point this facility, a generation from now, decides not to be in use, what guarantees now do we have to make sure the next generation doesn't bear any burden? That was a lot of technical questions, so I want to bring this back up at a high level. I know each of you, we all try to balance and honor the first thing of do no harm. Do no harm to the community, do no harm to residents. And we need credible information to make informed decisions. We got to this point of professional staff recommending to the mayor's office and the council to do a temporary moratorium, to put rules, regulations, laws, ordinances, if you would, in place to protect community and make sure things aren't harmful, but also to regulate growth. Because the other part I know of you is, in one hand, of doing no harm. I know each of you are also pro-growth and support business growth in our city too. And those things don't have to be opposed to each other. We just have to get it right. With that in mind, I think about those other examples I use, the check cashing places, the storage facilities, the dollar stores, the car wash places. All of these things have the consistency of low overhead, investor driven. But what was the actual impact to community? This has a similar nature. What impact does it have to community? And we have to answer those questions. Professional staff has now come back to us and says with the time they've been given since January, they've been able to do a lot of work. They've been able to accelerate a timeline and get those rules, regulations, laws and ordinances in place to protect community at the same time. And within the window that is required, it was shared with this council, yes, you could go forward with this, but it was also shared that with the decreased timeline, a moratorium or temporary moratorium is not needed, but that will be put in your hands for discussion. There was also the option of kicking it back to committee and letting them continue to do the work. The time I've shared, Mr. Chairman and council, with this is short versus what I've shared with this organization on Lakeshore, because that was the majority concern of what we heard from our residents who spoke today. So I wanted to give them an honest, transparent response, while at the exact same time honoring what's before you, letting the council deliberate and debate on that. I know I exhausted my time, but thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I think the public comment period of our public hearing is now concluded, so I'll hand it back over to President Alexander.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. O'Quinn, for chairing this public hearing. I do want to thank the residents today for your voices and your concerns regarding data centers. And as we take up this ordinance to consider a temporary suspension of data centers, your information, your thoughts, your comments have been shared with us, and the information you shared, I truly appreciate it. And I believe that members of our council also appreciate it. I also want to thank the city staff, PEP, as well as the Office of the City Attorney, and Mayor Woodfin, all of your administrative staff that have provided the information to each of us as councilors as we consider this item today. I also want to thank you for giving the timeline, correctly stating information as it came to us and as we have had this opportunity to consider this item. So at this time, councilors, if there are no other questions, we'll turn it over for the vote. My iPad isn't working, but I vote yes.
Okay. Councilor O'Quinn, Councilor Williams. Okay, that should be it.
All right, thank you, councilors and public. Item number 1 does pass. It is an ordinance to consider a temporary suspension on data centers within the city. At this time, do we have any other items
No, ma'am.
to consider? All right, thank you. At this time, councilors, we will entertain comments from your various districts. And Councilor Vasa, are you ready?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam President. This week is Read Across America, and I know some other counselors had an opportunity to read books at elementary schools. Our staff was able to go to Epic Elementary and have a wonderful reading of Mrs. Greer's class, so thank you for that invitation. We also have Forest Park South Avondale Neighborhood Association meeting tonight at 6:30 p.m. at the South Avondale Library. That concludes my announcements. Thank you.
Madam President, do you want me to go next?
Yes, please.
As far as neighborhood meetings, Oakwood Place is meeting today at 4 p.m. at Harrison Park Recreation Center. Mason City will meet today at 4:30 via teleconference, and then North Titusville will meet on Wednesday at 5 p.m. at Memorial Park Recreation Center. Then West End Manor will meet on Monday, March 9th at 5 p.m. at New Hope Baptist Church. The first watch prayer hosted by the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office will take place on Sunday, March 8th from 4 to 5:30 p.m. This will be held at Section A, 17th Street Plaza. Residents are encouraged to attend. Then Titusville Senior Resource Day will be held tomorrow from 10 to 1 at the Titusville Library. Thank you, Madam President.
Economic Development and Tourism Committee will be following this meeting in conference rooms D&E, and Roebuck meeting will be Monday, March 9th at 6:30 East Precinct. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councilor O'Quinn.
Sure. This week in District 5, we have the East Lake Neighborhood Association who is meeting tonight at 6 p.m. Forest Park South Avondale Neighborhood Association also meets tonight at 6:30. Wahoma Neighborhood Association will meet on Thursday at 6 p.m. Gate City Neighborhood Association will meet on Monday, March 9th at Oak Tree Ministries. Please note that that's a new location, and I believe the meeting is at 4 p.m. Oak Ridge Park also meets on Monday at 6 p.m. at the Harris Holmes Rec Center. We have a Transportation Infrastructure Committee meeting coming up on March 9th. That'll be held here in council chambers at 2 p.m. Please submit agenda items to our office. Jones Valley Teaching Farm has opened registration for their Camp Grow, and these are summer camps for youth rising second grade through rising eighth grade. If you need additional information, you can find that at their website, jvtf.org. And then finally, Oak Tree Ministries, along with Black Warrior Riverkeeper, will be hosting its annual Gate City Neighborhood Cleanup on Saturday, March 14th at 10 a.m. Volunteers can register at oaktreeministries.org. And that concludes my announcements.
Thank you, Councilor Woods.
Thank you, Madam President. The Apple Valley Neighborhood Association meeting scheduled for today, March 3rd, has been canceled. The Spring Lake Neighborhood Association will meet on Thursday, March 5th at 6:30 p.m. That meeting is at Huffman High School in the library, and they also have a virtual option. The Echo Highlands Neighborhood Association will meet also on Thursday, March 5th at 7 p.m. That meeting is being held virtually. The Roebuck Neighborhood Association will meet on Monday, March 9th at 6:30 p.m. at the Birmingham Police East Precinct. Anybody interested in attending any of the virtual meetings, you can email me at clinton.woods@birminghamal.gov. The Be Litter Free cleanup will continue. This will be on Sunday, March 15th at 1 p.m. at Tom Bradford Park. We encourage all residents to continue participating, and then also want to shout out all of our partners that helped us visit schools on yesterday as a part of our first library initiative in District 1, where we're able to give all of our kindergarten scholars their very own first library set of books to take home. Our partners, I See Me, Inc., that partner with us every year to be able to go out and execute that, and just really, really want to stress the importance of reading to the future generations, because that really unlocks infinite doors. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Gunn?
Thank you, Madam President. We have a host of neighborhood association meetings coming up in the next week. First, I want to start with the Inglenook Neighborhood Association, which takes place on Monday, March 9th at 5:30 p.m. at the Inglenook Recreation Center. Then we have the Woodlawn Neighborhood Association, which also takes place on that Monday at 6 p.m. at the Willowwood Recreation Center. We also have on that same Monday, Airport Highlands, which takes place at 6 p.m. at Pleasant View Baptist Church. And rounding out that Monday, we have the Roebuck Neighborhood Association, which takes place at 6:30 p.m. at the Birmingham East Precinct. On that Tuesday, which is March the 10th, we have the Kilo Springs Neighborhood Association meeting at 6 p.m. at Smith Middle School. We also have on that Tuesday, Northeast Lake at 6 p.m. at the Southern Museum of Flight. And lastly, we have the Penfield Park Neighborhood Association on that Tuesday as well at the Brownsville Heights Community Center. Today, I will be hosting office hours in the Brownsville Heights Community Center. And this serves as an opportunity for me to meet community where they are. And so hopefully we will have some healthy dialogue coming out of that session, so we can know in which direction we can move that neighborhood. So I'm looking forward to that. That would be from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. today at the Brownsville Heights Community Center. So see you there. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Councilor Smith?
All right, thank you. So last Friday, I had the pleasure to participate in the 3rd annual Jordan E. Melton Youth Summit. So that was an inspiring event to honor the memory of Jordan Melton and encourage children to practice nonviolent conflict resolution. A reminder that Birmingham Park and Rec is still hiring lifeguards for the summer. If interested, call 205-254-2189. And we have several neighborhood meetings across District 8 in the next week. Today, we have Fairview meeting at 5:30 via conference call. The Thomas neighborhood will also meet today at 6:30 at Thomas Baptist Church. The Ainsley Highlands Neighborhood Association will meet on Monday, March 9th at 5 p.m. at the Five Points West Library. Tuxedo will meet on Monday, March 9th at 4 p.m. And the Rising West Princeton neighborhood is moving to bi-weekly meetings, so they will not meet for the month of March, but will pick back up in April. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Madam Pro Tem?
Thank you, Madam President. Several neighborhood meetings across the district as well. Wylam Neighborhood Association will meet tonight at 6 p.m. at the Wylam Library. As it already has been stated by Councilor Smith, Thomas Neighborhood Association meeting is tonight at 6:30 at the Greater St. Thomas Community Church. Sipico Finley Neighborhood Association will meet Wednesday, March the 4th at 5:30, and that's at the Sipico Plant Community Room. Sherman Heights Neighborhood Meeting will be held Monday, March the 9th at 6 p.m. at Morning Star Christian Church. North Birmingham Neighborhood Association meeting will also meet Monday, March the 9th at 6 p.m. at the North Birmingham Library. Next public safety meeting will be held on Tuesday, March the 10th, 1 p.m. in the council chambers. Please submit agenda items by email no later than Wednesday, March 4th at 12 noon to gregory.stanley@birminghamal.gov and ashanta.little@birminghamal.gov. Finally, we are excited for our 205 and Park event tomorrow. And I want to thank all of my colleagues for being a support and getting your schools involved. This is a replication of 106 in Park. So we super excited to see our young scholars host Day 205 in Park tomorrow to be the free and the AJ. So thank you, Madam President.
Thank you very much. We're very excited about tomorrow. These are announcements for District 7. I'd like to congratulate, as the mayor's already said, I'd like to congratulate Cedric Lane and the Winona High School Dragons. They are in the Final Four for the Class 5A Boys Championship. Those games have already started at Legacy Arena, and the Winona Dragons will play Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. I also like to congratulate Dr. Melvin Love of the Oxmoor Valley Elementary School in D7. Dr. Love is a top 3 candidate for the Alabama National Distinguished Principal Award. So we're wishing him great success on this, and hopefully he'll bring home the win. But it's always a great opportunity to receive acknowledgement of your work. So congratulations to him on that candidacy for that award. Also, I'd like to congratulate my colleagues, Smitherman, Smith, and Tate. It is Women's History Month, and so I appreciate working with you and serving with you and the work that you do in your community, and also all the women present today and who support the council and work with us. Thank you so much. Friday, March 6th, we'll have the Jones Valley Neighborhood Association. They will meet at 4 p.m. at the Powderly Library. And Thursday, next week, councilors, on March 12th, we will have a special call Committee of the Whole Administration and Governmental Affairs meeting. That's at 3 p.m. in council chambers. As always, please dial 311 or 205-254-6314 to report illegal dumping or missed bulk trash pickups. That concludes my announcements for District 7. And Council Pro Tem, I believe you said you had one more.
Thank you, Madam President. For those of us who work out and, go to the gym, I want to tell you guys about Curtis Starks with Train and Burn. Curtis is in the top 5 group finalists for Mr. Health and Fitness. So Curtis has been training for in Birmingham over 20 plus years. I think he was the first black trainer to lunch in Birmingham. At that time, it was C. Starks, personal trainer, and I'll attend there. So vote for Curtis Starks. If you're interested, try to get him to reach the national quarterfinalists for Mr. Health and Fitness.
All right, thank you so much. At this time, Mr. Clerk, I believe we have 2 residents lined up for the speakers list.
Yeah, Carmichael Henderson.
Hi, Mr. Henderson. As you come forward, you have 3 minutes. Great to see you. Give us your name and address.
Yes, ma'am.
First of all, giving honor to God, to Mayor Wolf and to you, Madam President. Miss Miriam, your mother was the first one to give me a ticket for driving with no license, so I remember her real well. She don't play, I tell folks that. But congratulations on your, the Deltas and everything. And really, I just want to just stand up here for a few minutes. I just got something on my heart that's really been bothering me, and I think it's been bothering a lot of other people. First of all, I just want to look at the hurt that is in our city with crime. I look at the hurt in our city with crime every time I pick up the newspaper or either turn on the TV, how our African-American boys and girls are being killed in jail because of the fact is they do not have no facilities that we can be able to bring them to us and we can be able to teach them. Mr. Mayor, all we asked you to do was to give us a brand new facility. We don't want nothing used. You have did marvelous stuff. All y'all have signed off. I know a lot of it was already planned with the current mayor, Mayor Larry Langford and William Bell. He signed off on the stuff that he did because he was the mayor. But what's being done on the west side of town? That's my problem. I have a problem because I rise up, I'm just a citizen, and I rise up for all 99 neighborhoods that you told me, Mr. Mayor, on the first term when I helped you got in office, you said that you was gonna be for all 99 neighborhoods in 23 communities. And I have not seen you yet come on the west side of town. I don't even see you over there at the schools over there with the kids, having the reading things that y'all got. Y'all all downtown, all over the place downtown, doing that. See, I'm a minister too, so I'm gonna let you know, ordained minister. I'll make it a little louder here. But I'm just telling you this right here. We need to come together and work together for these children and get them some facilities so they can be able to come to us. I'm worked for UPS 25 years. I got brothers already to go to work. They say, gee, if you get us the facility where we can come, we can teach them. We can teach them about the word of God. We can teach them other things. We can teach entrepreneur business. That's what our children need to learn. They don't got to go get a job. You see how UPS, how they doing, folks. You see how Amazon working halfway to death, don't give you number $25 an hour. That ain't no money when you got the cost of living of bread almost $4. We got to get this thing together, y'all. We losing our kids. I'm going to say this right here and I'm gone. My father was Dr. Reverend Burt. He worked with Calvin Woods, Abraham Woods. He was a foot soldier for this city. He loved his city so much that he was the first one to have traveling basketball teams. Bobby Burton, known as Coach B in the community, he worked for the AEF and the ATF school system, the AEA school system. My heart hurts. And my dad right now saying, son, when you gonna get up and say something? We got to understand, if we don't reach the kids now, who gonna get them? Down there Kelly Ivy plays, but she done built that prison for all long. It's time out. And it's time for us to work together. And this is my last thing for you, Mr. Mayor. Why in the world you cannot work with folks who have ran against you? And I'm talking about the Inslee area over there. It's nowhere in the world, Inslee district look the way it look, and you got a man that's willing to work with you and help build it up. Inslee was a prime example business district. My mother used to shop over there at Carton's.
Mr. Henderson.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
All right.
We appreciate your passion, but your time is up. Thank you. Appreciate you. Next speaker.
Antoinette, is it Housley? I guess she's not here.
All right, thank you. At this time, we do want to thank you, Officer Pinkert, for your duty today in serving us, and also our fire inspectors, Inspector Snow and Griggs. At this time, we'll entertain a motion for adjournment. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
Hey, it's Pro Tem Councilwoman Tate, and I'm here to bring you some exciting news today. We are gearing up again for 205 in Park, It is a replication of the old BET show 106 in Park. I'm super excited to have my colleagues on board and all of the Birmingham City High Schools involved. We have J.O., we have Carver, we have Winona, we have Woodlawn, and we have Huffman and Ramsey involved this year. We're excited. The kids are going to be your Free and your AJ, but they're going to be our kids doing the 205 in Park. Don't forget, it's 205 in Park. It is happening on March the 4th, 10 a.m. at the Boutwell Auditorium. Don't you dare miss this 205 in Park. And let me leave you with this. And our keynote speaker is D1, the hip-hop artist from Louisiana that is challenging the culture to be better. Look him up on all of his social media platforms, DEE-1, and he has a song out with our very own Mike Jr. called Grateful. So it's gonna be going down at the Boutwell Auditorium tomorrow at 10 a.m. Don't miss 205 in Park, and I'm out.
205 in Park. Hey, 205 in Park. Hey, 205 in Park. Hey, what you know about that? What you know about that? What you know about
205 in Park. It is a replication of 106 in Park, a television show that used to be on the BET network. So today was a day to let the kids lead the conversation and tell leaders what it is that they need and what they want.
Welcome to the first Get It Off Your Chest panel discussion. Coming right out of the gate, I got a question for District Attorney Carr and Mayor Wolfen.
I think they should actually listen to us, because sometimes people or teachers or adults, they'll think we're not going through what we're going through.
So this is a question for both of you. How important is mental health counseling, healing to our communities and to their families?
So today was a day to engage the students and let the students lead the conversation. It was just super important for me to really elevate their voices and center them, in these tough conversations.
Exactly.
And so what I took away from this is I really listened, really taking back some keen ideas to really shape some good policy, embracing them in what they want to see when it comes to safety and a resilient community. This is a great experience. It's really focusing on making sure that we center community and making sure we're hearing community to shape any type of community safety, because it's going to take all of us as a collective to shape any type of safety that we're looking for. And just taking this back to my colleagues, just telling them, hey, I had an opportunity to listen to the young folks, and this is what they're saying.
Yeah. I should have flexed the whole. Councilor Tate.